Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kosi. And how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, my sister. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Morning, everybody.
Good
Morning,
morning, Sandwa.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Honorable Paul.
Good morning, Honorable Paul.
Oh, and what about me?
Good morning, Abada.
Morning, everybody. How you all?
I'm good, thanks, Tandwa Sam. And you?
I'm okay. Okay. Missing you guys, man. I need to see you.
Next week,
28.
I think
On
we're
the
physical,
28th.
ne?
Yes, we are. We are.
Yes, gonna get your warm hug.
Of course. Of course. I was just gonna say I'm missing all the hugs. But next week. But it's too long also, man.
Too long. Very, very, very long. Otherwise, miss you too, my dearest.
And how's our oversight? Are we going on oversight in June?
Not
Unfortunately,
Selena.
I don't think so.
Why you say that, Honorable Paul?
There will be
the-
an oversight.
With the budget. With the budget process.
Yeah, because everything is now pushed back, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll have to wait and see, hey? But Kuliswa, from your side, everything has been approved, right?
Koliswa is off sick, Tandwa Samari,
Oh.
my darling. Yes.
Oh,
Otherwise, everything I
but
think
she
is
didn't
approved.
stay.
She have tonsils.
Oh, man. Okay, I'll message her. I'll message her.
Morning, Chair.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, Madikizela.
Good morning. How are you, Chair?
Oh, you forgot that you are Madik.
No,
I'm
I
fine,
didn't
and you?
forget. I didn't forget.
Oh.
It's just you stopped calling me that.
Eh?
You
No.
stopped calling me that.
No. You still remain the queen.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I'm the princess, not the queen.
How are you, Selena? Kosi, how are you?
Good morning, Chairperson. How are you today?
I'm good, and you?
Thank you, Chair. I'm okay.
Thank you very much. Temlin, how are you?
Good morning, Chair. I'm well, thank you, and yourself?
Good. Where's Selina? Selina?
She's probably on a phone call, Chair, but she was here earlier. We spoke to her.
All right.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm fine, thank you, Chair.
Are you the one assisting us, or is there somebody who's coming?
I'm the one who's going to assist, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. No problem.
Morning,
Good
Chair.
morning. Chair. How are you, Chair?
I'm good, Chairperson. Thank you. And how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, you visit us many times.
The way it's cold where I am.
Eish, it's cold everywhere. I'm in Cape Town. It's so cold and
Mm.
rainy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honorable Justice, the Minister.
Honorable Chair, how do you do, Chair?
I'm fine, and you?
I receive and I accept, Chair. Thanks.
Honorable Kakilwe, how are you? Ketamabal.
Sawubona wesithathu.
Kunjani baba?
Siyaphila mfowethu njani?
Siphilile man.
Hayi asiphushe
Siyabonga.
sifanele sheshe siqede
Yeah.
namhlanje honorable chair kufanele siye ku-budget.
Asifanele kuya ku-budget. Soyiphasa namhlanje namathathu. Kunankinga. Kunankinga. Sharp. Good morning, DM.
Good morning, Chair.
And how are you?
I'm good, Chair. And how are you?
I'm fine. You really look good.
Yeah, Chair. Yeah. We must look good. We must not look like our problems.
Yeah.
Can't look like our problems. Next.
Yeah.
Yes.
DG, how are you?
Honorable Chairperson, I'm okay. A hearty good morning to you and to the Honorable Deputy Minister and other members of the Portfolio Committee.
Good morning, DG. Good morning. Thanks very much. Good morning once more, Honorable members. Greetings to
Good morning, Chair.
Greetings to the Deputy Minister, the delegation led by the DG. I've seen the chairperson of NHBRC. Good morning and thanks very much for coming. I think we are now ready to start with our meeting. I know I was told that our secretary is not well. She's on sick leave. And Selina, who's the executive secretary to the chairperson, has been delegated to stand in for Selina. Can we start?
Good morning, Chair. Yes, Chair, we can start.
Thanks very much. Let's have the agenda. There is the agenda, honorable members. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda? Honorable Ditebe. You are not audible.
I move to adopt the agenda, Chairperson. Can you hear me?
Yes, but I think I suspect.
Okay, I'll take off these accessories. You know, they're supposed to help us as members, but sometimes they're not that useful. So I'm trying to not get other people around me interested in our meeting. So, but I'll move to the office chair. But I move for the adoption of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Teku. Honorable Magagula.
I second, Chair.
Honorable Magagula, Honorable Stolle, thanks very much. Our agenda is adopted. We're on item 3, apologies. Selina, are there apologies?
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, DG. Good morning, Deputy Minister. And good morning, members and everyone in the meeting. Chairperson, I only have one apology from the Office of the Minister. Thank you, Chair. For the Minister.
For the Minister. Okay, thanks very much. Honorable Poole.
Good morning, Chair. I might leave the meeting earlier, around 12.
Around
Thank you,
12.
Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Stolle.
Thank you very much, Chair. The reason for the Minister.
Selina.
Vianney, can you please help me because I didn't receive any reason. Please put.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, TM. Good morning, DG, and good morning, all honorable members. In respect of the apology of the Minister, which was forwarded to the Secretariat of the Portfolio Committee, unfortunately, Minister had some health-related issues.
Okay. The Minister is absent due to health reasons. There it is, Honorable Stolle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. We are on item 4. Honorable DM.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to indicate and also submit an apology that I will be multitasking. And we have a program which is starting at 10, but I will be in the meeting until that. Then I will indicate to the Chair when I'm supposed to talk in that particular program which I'm attending now. Thank you. So I'll be multitasking. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Honorable members, we are on item 4. I shouldn't waste a lot of time on this one. Like I've already welcomed everybody who's in the meeting. Today, in the main, we're meeting with the NHBRC, and we also invited CIDB. Of course, they will be led, this delegation is led by the Deputy Minister, assisted by the DG. The reason is Chairperson of NHBRC, as we were doing our oversight throughout the country, members were worried about the quality of workmanship. But when we were engaging staff of NHBRC, they were confident that those buildings are compliant, meaning they certified the building so that they can be occupied. So we were just worried, and we just wanted NHBRC to present their criteria on approval processes. Further, the CIDB is not one of our entities. We requested CIDB to come and present on their grading criteria, because sometimes you get that a contractor is on grade 9, which means the contractor must be well capacitated. But when you go to the ground, you find that the contractor who's on grade 9 is still struggling. So we just wanted to understand that. Today, honorable members, is a big day in the afternoon. We are expected to be in the House at 14 hours to listen to the Minister presenting the budget. Therefore, I would request that we be businesslike so that by 12:30 we are done with the meeting and our members to start moving to PLO. Justice, if you can just mute. Thank you very much. So I'm going to allow before NHBRC presents, I'm going to allow the DM. She has already indicated that she'll be multitasking. Honorable Stolle, do you want to say something?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, I have a proposal, Honorable Chairperson. I know that the agenda has been seconded, has been approved and seconded. But I have a proposal, Honorable Chairperson. If we can get both of the briefing by NHBRC and the CIDB, and then after that we take note per program, and after that we engage all of them together.
Okay. There is a proposal, honorable members. Is it acceptable?
Second it, Chair.
Seconded. All right.
That's accepted.
Accepted. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Stolle. We'll do likewise. I was saying I'm going to allow the Deputy, Honorable Jitebe.
Chairperson, thank you very much. I think only for pragmatic purposes for today, I'll agree with Honorable Stolle because we have to go to the CTICC. Ordinarily, Chairperson, I think going forward, we should allow each presentation to be made and for members to ask questions so that we go in depth into these kinds of issues. In fact, your very opening remarks point to the complexity of the situation that we are faced with, wherein you refer to a grade 9 contractor sometimes who either struggles with liquidity or even with capacity in terms of skills to complete a project. And sometimes if we give members an opportunity to do that in depth, it allows us to go to the heart of the underlying issues. But as I say, today I support Honorable Stolle and other members. Let's do that. But I think in future we must try and deal with this in detail. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable Stolle, if you can mute. Honorable members, I was saying I'm going to, before NHBRC comes in, followed by CIDB, I'm going to allow the Deputy Minister to do a few remarks, allow the DG also, just very few remarks, then give to the chairperson of the NHBRC. She will introduce the delegation, and if she's the one presenting, no problem. If not, she will then give to the person who's presenting. Then go to CIDB. I was not briefed as to who's leading the delegation, but we'll give that person who's leading the delegation an opportunity, and we get presentation. Then we get into discussions, as honorable members suggested. DM.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings to honorable members of the portfolio committee, Chair, from the side of the department, the DG is leading the delegation, and NHBRC, as you said earlier on, the chair of the board is leading the delegation. In her delegation, we do have the acting CEO of NHBRC and the CIDB delegation also is on the platform. We are here to present to the portfolio committee as per your request, chairperson of the portfolio committee. We do have the delegation or the PLO from the office of the minister also to represent the minister, so that we are able also to collectively give a feedback to the minister after the meeting or anytime appropriate. The subject of the matter today, it is very important. As the whip of the portfolio committee said, there's a lot that NHBRC does. Perhaps the portfolio committee will have to invite the NHBRC again, because their scope of work and responsibilities does not start and end on the approval processes for houses and the role played during the construction processes. We will know that NHBRC has a power also to instruct the contractors to demolish houses where they see that there's like we saw in Richards Bay in KwaZulu-Natal during the oversight, which I joined with the portfolio committee. So the scope of work with the NHBRC is very much broad, and it is indeed true that perhaps one day NHBRC will have to come back and present to the portfolio committee, so that we are able to engage the portfolio committee on the work that the NHBRC does. Without wasting time, Chairperson, as you said earlier on, that we are expected to be at ICC for the sitting of Parliament. I will end there and to say that the DG of the department is going to be leading the discussions, working hand in hand with the chair of the portfolio, of the board, Mamunoxolo Kiviti, who is also here. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you very much, GM. DG, few remarks.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, and good morning to the members of the Portfolio Committee. Chair, I've been largely covered by the DM, save just to indicate that we as a department are already aware of the constraints on capacity by the Council on indeed the processes of testing materials and of certification. And we have already communicated our expectations that Council develop a strategy as well as a pathway towards increasing the capacity, so that we not only have a single laboratory, testing laboratory, but we have several in provinces, knowing that our footprint is already there, but even more importantly, that we find financial sustainability towards that, and also getting a targeted strategy of looking at testing the materials at source before they're actually out in communities. And we think that would be key in the approval processes, and also assist and strengthen the hand of the inspectorate in doing its work across the country in terms of their own set criteria. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, DG. Chairperson, NHBRC.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson. Good morning to DM, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, DG and Acting CEO, as well as all our support teams on the platform. For me, Chair, it is to appreciate the opportunity that the committee has given us to keep us on our toes in respect of our mandate, and in just agreeing with you with respect to what would have been concerns of the Portfolio Committee, to say that it has also been concerns of the council. Let me remind the honorable members that some of the concerns that you are raising are those that the current act, which is new, is seeking to address through regulations. I am confident that by the end of this year, new regulations would have been processed and which seek to address the weaknesses, especially insofar as strengthening the arm of the NHBRC in such areas as penalties and the like. So, Chair, I do have, as you've correctly said, the acting CEO together with her team on the platform. I will hand over to her because we've already prepared a presentation which addresses the current situation, and possibly in our next meeting we must go deeper in what the act provides, the new act as was approved by President in January, so that the weaknesses can be seen to have been strengthened by the act, and so that we are all at one in ensuring that those regulations are approved timelessly. That being said, Chair, I hand over to Acting CEO Tamlin Bauer. Over to you, Tamlin. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. Acting CEO, can we continue with the presentation?
Thank you very much, Chair, and a good morning to yourself, Chairperson, members of the Portfolio Committee, the Honourable DM, DG, our Chairperson, and all the members on the platform. I do have a presentation, but I don't seem to have sharing rights. I'm not sure if I could be granted rights to share the presentation, please, Chair.
I'll make you as a co-host already.
Okay.
You have the rights.
Okay, let me try again. Just 1 second. Is it visible, Chair?
It's coming. Yeah, now we can see it.
Thank you. In terms of NHBRC and our role in the construction sector, it's based on our mandate. Our mandate is found in terms of the Housing Consumers Protection Measures Act of 1998, which sets out the objectives of the NHBRC. Essentially, there are 10 items in particular that the NHBRC is responsible for as our role in the construction industry. As our chairperson indicated in her introduction, these will be strengthened during the rollout of the new act, which we are busy with the regulations therefore. Overall, we represent the interests of the housing consumers. We regulate the home building industry. We establish and promote the ethical and technical standards.
Acting CEO, your slides do not move. I'm not sure whether it's on my side only.
I'm still on the mandate slide, Chair. Can you see it?
No, where I see the slides that says briefing by the National Home Builders. Is it the correct slide?
It should say NHBRC mandate, Chair.
NHBRC
There
mandate.
you go.
If you can just do slide show, then we're together. You can continue, Acting CEO.
Thank you, Chair. So I think this is overall our mandate, which provides for our role in the construction industry. Essentially, the process starts with the registration of the home builder. Once the home builder has registered, they are able to enroll the home, which thereafter the inspection process will be kick-started. Currently, with the new Act, once the occupation certificate has been issued, the warranty cover for 5 years for the structural defects will kick in. Should there be a complaint, which the housing consumer would address to NHBRC, firstly through their home builder. If it's not rectified by the home builder, we enter into the conciliation process, which is between NHBRC, the home builder, and the homeowner. Should the home builder fail to rectify, NHBRC will undertake remedial works up to 500,000 Rand currently to remedy the structural defects in the property. Thereafter, once the remedial works has been completed, NHBRC then enters into a recovery process to try and recover some of the money spent from the home builder. As I mentioned, before a home can be enrolled, the home builder will need to be registered with NHBRC. Essentially, anybody who is in the business of building a home is required to be registered with NHBRC. This is done through our online portal, our digital services system, where you are able to register online, capture your details, and upload your required documentation. For example, a copy of the IDs, the technical manager, the CIPC certificate, all of that is uploaded online. You will then receive a registration invoice. This is a once-off payment of 745 Rand 61, which confirms that you are provided then with your NHBRC manuals. Once you have paid for your registration, you will receive the manuals and you are then able to book a test date. This is a technical assessment that is also completed. You will book the test, you will receive confirmation of where you will be writing the test. Once you pass the test, you then receive an annual membership invoice. So this is an annual fee that is payable of 526 Rand 32. So this is paid on an annual basis to maintain your registration status as a home builder with NHBRC. In essence, it is required by the Act that all home builders should be registered with NHBRC. There are some advantages to the home builders over and above compliance with the law. There's access to our training programs. Very often it is also a requirement for financing by financial institutions that if you are in the business of building homes, that you are registered with NHBRC. There will also be inspections during the construction program. The major structural warranty cover for 5 years. And we also offer the mediation service. Should there be any arguments or disagreements that arise during the process, NHBRC is able to assist in the mediation process between the housing consumer and the builder. Currently, all homes are enrolled. That is another requirement in terms of our Act. And really, what the enrollment process entails is that we look at the design of the home, which would also assist to make sure that there is no expensive failures or unnecessary high implications, avoid any possible delays, and obviously once the home is enrolled and you are issued with your occupation certificate after the inspections have been taken place, the warranty will kick in. All homes are required to be enrolled by NHBRC. So this is any dwelling that is used for residential or partial residential purposes. It includes both non-subsidy and subsidy homes. It is a contravention of Section 14 of our Housing Consumers Protection Measure Act for a home builder to commence with the construction of a home before the house has been enrolled, and they have either received an enrollment certificate in terms of non-subsidy. With regards to subsidy, there is an enrollment letter that is issued either to the MEC or the mayor or the HOD. Once the home builder is in possession of that, they may commence with construction. There is various documentation that is required to be submitted to approve the home enrollment. It would be the contract, the pricing breakdown, the valid NHBRC home builder certificate, the plans approved by the municipality, the value of the land, and the geotech investigation report from the registered competent person. The geotech is also an important component because it details the soil classification on which the home will be built. We also require the coordinates for the site so that we are able to chart where the inspections need to take place, ID copies, and any technical representative that will be on site representing the builder during the construction. Those details need to be provided. We also have instances that we call a late enrollment. So this is where construction started prior to the enrollment certificate being issued by NHBRC. We have two types of late enrollment, either a declared late enrollment where a home builder will come to the offices of NHBRC and state that construction has started. During that process, then the NHBRC then has to be satisfied that whatever construction to date is in accordance with our technical requirements. The home builder would be required to submit documentation to prove that. NHBRC would then request what we call a financial guarantee, which is calculated based on the state of construction, how far the construction has commenced. We require a financial guarantee, which is calculated and remains in our possession for the remainder of the warranty period. Should there be no defects during that period, NHBRC will release the financial guarantee. In terms of subsidy home enrollment applications, it's largely the same requirements, but we also then require the name of the MEC or the mayor and the municipality approval number, as well as the number of sites in the project, because these generally are on a much larger scale. We also require the developer's name, the home builder registration number, and the infrastructure layouts. And again, very important is the geotech investigation report, which determines the soil classification. I think one of the important aspects around the enrollment process is with regards to the role of the NHBRC engineer. They have responsibilities that are determined in our regulations. As I mentioned, we have engineers who review the geotech site soil classification. There are problematic soil conditions that need to be determined at this stage, which would then further determine the type of foundation and building that could be erected on that site, as well as around multi-story buildings. This is a critical component in determining the safety of that building going forward, or the structural safety rather. The engineer also reviews the structural solutions of the building, so the plans with regards to the structure, to make sure that they are in line with SANS 10400, as well as our own NHBRC technical requirements. So the structural solutions refers really to the foundations and the actual building itself, so the walls and the roofing. They also support the NHBRC inspectorate in the issuing of technical non-compliances. They review the rational designs that have been submitted. Also, they play quite an important role with regards to the late enrollments. whereby they would have to determine if the procedures have been required and if the home is actually able to be enrolled. They also interact with a number of industry professionals, and they review the structural proposals that are submitted. So I think this, what the chair of the committee mentioned earlier, is when the NHBRC on site determines that the house was sufficient to be passed or to be issued, they are referring to the structural solutions or the assessments that took place with regards to the structural solution and the geotech assessment. There's also the role of the inspector. They are currently Section 19 of our Act, which provides for what the inspector may do. In essence, they are required to be given access to the site and to any documentations on site that they may be required. It's also stated that they are not allowed to hinder, obstruct, or interfere. No person shall allow them to be interfered with while they are on site. In terms of the inspection stages, we have 4 compulsory stages at NHBRC. The first is the substructure or the foundation, which is then followed by the superstructure. So that's the walls. Practical completion is at the roofing stage, and the final stage being the stormwater. So those are the 4 inspection stages that we conduct as NHBRC. We are not the only inspectors on site. There are also inspectors from
Apologies, Acting CEO. Honorable Mpiti, please mute. There's a disturbing sound coming from your side. Honorable Mpiti, please mute. Continue, Acting CEO.
Thank you, Chair. So on screen is the various respective responsibilities of each of the different inspectors. There's the NHBRC, the department, as well as the municipality. And each of these has a different role to play during the process. I think I mentioned earlier around the NHBRC warranty for the structural defects, which is a 5-year warranty. In the subsidy sector, the NHBRC warranty kicks in on the issuing of a final unit report, which is done by the inspector at the last inspection stage, which basically complies, that the house complies with the building manual and SANS 10400. So in addition to the 5-year structural warranty, there is a 90-day defect liability period, and currently there's a 12-month guarantee on the roof. That 12-month guarantee has been extended in the new Act. And then with regards to non-subsidy, the warranty kicks in on date of occupation, and there we rely on the occupation certificate that is provided by the municipality, which confirms on which date the 5-year structural warranty would kick in. I think that is my last slide, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there any addition from your delegation?
No, Chair, they are covered. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I be advised as to who's leading CIDB? Selina, can you give Mr. Dladla?
Thank you. Oh. Thank you, Chair. My name is Pulilenzo. I'm the chairperson of the CIDB. I'll be leading the delegation. I'm accompanied by the CEO, who will then attend to the presentation on what is on the information that has been requested. From our side, Chair, I would like to send my greetings to yourself and the honorable members.
See your face. Sorry, it's because you are a visitor.
Okay.
Other people, we know their faces. Just show your face. My apologies. All right.
Visible.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Chair. As I said, my name is Kulilenzo, Chair, and greetings to yourself and the honorable members of the committee, to the DM, the Chair of the NHBRC, and the colleagues. Chair, we welcome the invitation to do our presentation to provide insight on what the CIDB is doing, especially to the grading of the contractors, the criteria that is being utilized, and also to clarify our role in the industry. But more importantly, Chair, I think it is quite a progressive initiative that we are invited to this committee to ensure the synergy between the two institutions, which have an almost similar mandate within the built environment, one for the home builders and one generally for the contractors. I think without further ado, Chair, let me allow our CEO to deal with the presentation. Through you, Chair. Mr. Dladla, could you please commence with the...
Before that, I see a hand of Honorable Ditebe.
Yeah, Chair, sorry. Chair, on a lighter note, the Chair is addressing us without his jacket on.
Okay. Thank you. CEO?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you very much to the honorable members. I just want to check if my presentation is visible on the slide.
It is, CEO.
Yeah, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, the Deputy Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, and the chairpersons of both the NHBRC and the CIDB and colleagues. Thank you very much for the invitation to go through also, as the chairperson has indicated, the contractor registration criteria and also some of the challenges and opportunities that as the CIDB we see in terms of improving the quality of work, which in turn helps with service delivery and employment creation in the construction industry. We'll also go through our mandates overall as it relates to the construction industry and some of the initiatives that we have been undertaking in the past few years in order to improve the performance of the industry. We are happy to go to any part of go to greater detail to any part of the presentation, as the topic was quite broad, but I think it is quite useful for us also to be able to account to this particular committee, which has overlooking quite a few infrastructure intensive departments and entities. We've structured our, guided by the invitation, our presentation, first looking at the mandate of the CIDB and some of the interventions that we have put in place, and then go to the heart of the discussion today, which is our criteria for the register of contractors and other tools that we foresee could assist a lot if implemented to its full extent, like the register of projects compliance and other initiatives, Chairperson. The CIDB was established using an Act of Parliament of 2000, and we started being operational really in 2002, where we are established to provide strategic leadership to the construction industry stakeholders, which again with the view of ensuring sustainable growth, reform, and improvement of the performance of the industry. And also we are also established to promote the strategic growth of the industry without leaving the emerging sector behind, which puts forward a strong transformation initiatives. And we are also established to improve, to ensure that we improve performance and best practices for both public and private sector clients and contractors, and also looking at the procurement reform, ensuring there is a standardization in that. And then we have to monitor and regulate the industry, hence some of the information that we are looking at. And under the 5 years that we foresee, we want to have a construction industry that is sustainable. And we really, how CIDB is going to achieve that is to ensure that we strategically lead the South African construction industry towards an improved socio-economic development for better life for all. And what do we do it through regulating and development? And I have to say, the first 20 years of the CIDB had mainly focused on setting up the regulatory framework. But now, over the past 3 to 4 years, we focused a lot also on development, the development mandate that had been lagging behind. And I will go into some of the initiatives around that. And the key interventions over the MTDP period that we are looking at is the implementation of the build program and ensure industry monitoring, stakeholder capacity, amongst others, and also the strong aspects around the research output, the digitalization of the industry, which we have moved from from the corporate side, but more now looking at the industry and ensuring just a sustainable CIDB. That's the only way we are able to really improve performance if also the CIDB is well capacitated. In terms of the number of contractors that we are regulating currently, we are, Chairperson, is my screen still visible? No.
Yes, it is. It is.
Person, the distribution of our contractors currently, as of the end of last year, we are having new figures now being produced also. We have nearly 400 grade 9s, which constitute 2% of our register if we are looking at grade 2 to 9. And then also about 3,000 that are grade 7 and 8. Grade 9 contractors are those that do not have a limit in terms of their capacity of work. And we have quite a few grade 1s. Grade 1s currently at the CIDB account for just over 100,000 contractors, which is 80% of which 80% are Black-owned businesses. And there is quite an emphasis, if we are to transform the construction industry, that we also focus in that area. As transformation was also quite key in terms of the establishment of the CIDB, in terms of where we are currently. About 60%, nearly 60% now of our grade 9, which is our 236 companies, are Black-owned businesses, and then it progressively improves as we go to the lower grades. And the CIDB has intentionally removed, in terms of this analysis, the grade 1s, because those are bulk, it's 80% Black-owned businesses, but it does mask the figure in terms of how far we are with transformation on that. So the aspect of having the numbers of contractors for them, and it's quite important that we have enough numbers also in grade 7, 8, and 9, because that's where most economic activities are in the construction industry. Going back to the current registration criteria, it is mandated by a section in our Act that requires us to establish and maintain a national register of contractors, which can categorize contractors to facilitate public sector procurement. And the minister does prescribe the limit and the method of which invitations and awards of contracts ought to be done in line with also the other Treasury regulations. And we've divided our register because the construction industry is quite broad to a few categories, including which are the biggest categories, because that's where most economic activities happen: the civil engineering sector, CE, and general buildings. That accounts really for bulk of our registers. And when you are looking at public sector procurement, it is mainly in the civil engineering and the general building. And then with the private sector, infrastructure development mainly happening in the general buildings. We've also established other specialist classes of work that like fencing and others in our register. And the purpose of the register is to support risk mitigation in the tendering process and reduce the administrative burden associated with the award of contracts by reducing tendering costs for both clients and contractors, and enabling also an effective emerging sector participation. And we're also looking at with the challenges that we've had in the past, including collusion. We also regulate the behavior of the participants of the industry. And then to inform policy, we also keep the data in terms of size and distribution of contractors in the South African construction industry, so that we can also maintain the issues around transformation. There are a few exemptions that are there emanating from the CIDB, our regulations. We currently do not regulate labor-only contractors because the thinking is, especially as you go on the higher grades, you also need the other aspects for you to be able to to be able to be successful. And currently, the current act, because it was limited to the public sector, which we are revising, it also does not regulate the subcontracting arrangements, but we issue a lot of guidelines to infrastructure clients as to how those relationships ought to be managed, because they become an important part, especially when you are looking at the contract participation goals. The NHBRC contractors are also excluded using one of our regulations, as it is covered by the NHBRC Act, the act that governs the NHBRC, and that exemption is only for construction relating to human settlements, and also the joint venture designations where the joint venture grading, where the designation calculated from the sum of the individual contractors. So that's also excluded in that. Currently, our grading criteria starts, as I've indicated, from grade 1 to grade 9, where the entry-level contractors are typically allowed to do work up to 500,000 as an entry-level grade, and then once you reach grade 9, then you can do any work from 200 million and above. And where, again, the bulk of the economic activities, 70% of the construction work, really lies in grade 7, 8, and 9. Our grading is based on two aspects, and I will explain the rationale behind the two. One is on the financial capacity of the contractor, as one of the honorable members has indicated earlier on, to saying contractors must have sufficient financial capacity in order to be able to start the construction work. Because our current regime in terms of payment of contractors pay against the proven work that has been done. So there's usually a 60-day lag period.
CEO?
Yes, Chairperson?
There's a similarly, you might be having two gadgets that are on. There's a disturbance in your presentation.
Okay, Chairperson, I've just switched off the phone. I hope it helps, Chairperson. But I'll be guided by you if I need to get a Chairperson.
It's still a problem. The problem is that we can't hear you very well. I don't know whether you have two gadgets that are connected, or there's somebody next to you who has connected a gadget.
No. I can change a gadget through the phone, but I've just switched off the phone and I'm alone here.
Oh, it's even
I'm not sure. Am I audible?
You are audible, but there's a disturbance which members cannot hear you very well. Let's try again.
Okay, Chairperson, I will try slow, Chairperson, in terms of the critical slides.
You have an echo. It's an echo.
Chairperson?
Yes.
Can we ask the CEO to leave the meeting and reconnect? Maybe that might be better.
I'll do that, Chairperson.
Okay.
I think, Honorable Chairperson, the CEO is using two gadgets.
Yeah, I suspect so, but let's see. Are you back, CEO? Yes. Honorable CEO, I see you are back. Continue.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Emma, is it better now?
Yeah, you are fine.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and our apologies for that to the members. Let me just put up the presentation again. Oh, come on.
Selina, can you give a CEO hosting rights? Okay.
Chairperson, is the presentation visible?
Yes, we're on grading criteria. Yes.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, our grading criteria is focusing on the financial capacity in order to be able to do the commercial aspects of the business, buying of material, paying of laborers, and establishing on site. And generally, there is a lag of 60 days in most construction projects where contractors have to establish and do the work and then invoice and then get paid. So we as it goes higher in the grades, we increase the capacity, we increase our requirements for that. And there's also an aspect of works capacity, meaning proving your previous experience with projects that you've completed before. And we're looking at projects that you've completed in the past 5 years. These criteria work well in theory if, for instance, contractors are paid on time in order to be able to fund the project, and also that they've completed the work and still have a similar team in place in order to move on to the next project. And the current figures that we use, the limits that we use for grade 1, which is our entry level, which is the maximum value of work a contractor can undertake, is 500,000. We've put in no requirements for the turnover and also the largest projects that has been completed, and also the available capital, because this is the entry level part of the construction industry. But what we have done now is looking at how do we introduce issues around skills and other assessments, similar to what our colleagues at NHBRC are doing. For you to move to grade 2, you have to have completed a project of 130,000, which allows you to do work up to R1 million. We've benchmarked these types of arrangements and figures with other regulators in the region, both SADC and also internationally. For transformation reasons, what we did was from grade 3 to 4, in order to be able to do work, for instance, at grade 4, which is a maximum of 6 million, you either have to prove the best turnover of 2 million rand for grade 6, meaning that in the previous 2 years, you must have done construction work of up to, your business must have had a turnover of over 2 million rand on one of the year, the best year, or you have the available capital of 300,000 in order to undertake the work. But as projects become more complex and more financially demanding, then those figures increase. For instance, if you are looking at grade 9, the requirements for you to be registered as a grade 9, meaning you can do projects from 2 million rand, 200 million rand, up to, there is no limit, Madupi, any type of project like that. Your best turnover for the 2 years would have been 200 million, and your largest project that you should have been able to complete is 90 million in the past 5 years. And also your minimum available capital, including financial sponsorships, because we also have those tools, must be 40 million rand. And here we are considering that if, for instance, we have to undertake a 2 billion rand project, what would be the cash flow requirements for at least for the first 60 days of construction to ensure that contractors can work. And this, again, we've seen over and over, it works well, but it also requires that the infrastructure clients also pay on time. so that contractors are able to fund the operations of the project, especially your SMMEs, in a sense that banks are not also very favorable in terms of loaning the money for project. Hence, the CIDB is also partnering with CIFA through the build program, which I'll explain later, to also have other funding mechanisms to deal with issues of performance guarantees on site and bridging finance for starting up on construction projects. As we've also have submitted and planned other registration criteria amendments, and how the CIDB has focused on this, because over the years we've had to remove what was deemed, for instance, barriers of entry for the, well, not barriers of entry per se, gatekeeping instruments, but we have to ensure quality in the same way. So we utilize the build program also to train people or provide those capacities before we introduce any new regulation amendments, which again the build program I will talk about helps. So our current planned criteria that have been submitted for consideration to the minister in terms of regulation amendments in order to improve on the risk management tools is to extend the track record validity to use only the experience that is in the construction industry. Because what you find when we're looking at turnover, some businesses are structured in a way where they will have multiple type of operations. So for us to ensure credibility on having done work in the construction industry, even the cumulative track record will focus on that. We are integrating competency recognition and construction management systems, which we are currently training our contractors on using the build program. As you become more complex in your operations, grade 7 and above, you need to have your construction management systems, accredited ones with SANS or with ISO. So we are providing that route for free to our contractors, and also revision on the classes of work to ensure that we have more specialist classes of work, like your data cabling and other types of construction that requires different methods. And also at a lower grade for developmental purposes, we will be recognizing the labor on the contract and increasing the tender value limit and grade 1 skills assessment, because our aim is also to get as much of the built environment professionals and those that are coming from the TVET sector to be the contractors of the future, especially at lower grade as a starting point. But those that do not come with that formal training or background, then they'll undertake competency assessments as an entry. And we also need renewal criteria so that because we had put a moratorium on some of them because of the economic activities at the time, where we had very low economic activities, especially starting from 2016 going forward. So those are the major regulation amendments that are being proposed. The other register, honorable members, honorable chairperson and members, is the register of projects, which is very critical in order to be able to track the performance of contractors in past projects, and also understanding who is doing what in the construction industry. These are one of the compulsory registers for any project that is above 200,000 in the public sector, and the compliance is quite low on this in terms from the infrastructure clients. And this is really the main register where, as a client, before you even award, if everyone is participating in registering the project, you will be able to see the past performance of a contractor on similar projects and how loaded is that contractor with new work. So as you are making your appointments, you are able to make that risk assessment before you make your appointments on whether this contractor will be able to undertake this work. If not, then you can ask for additional. The challenge with this particular register is that currently we are the compliance by infrastructure clients sits just above, nearly about 40%, but it does stop us from being able to also put in as regulations on what past performance is acceptable deemed for you to be able to continue with the registration. So we are quite in a significant drive here, including taking infrastructure clients through disciplinary processes for non-compliance with this. Currently, the projects that are on the register as of January 20, where we had in the last 2 quarters nearly 2,400 projects that were there. And again, this is important for us to be able to know even on issues around who is sub-consulting with who, so that we can be able to monitor some of these projects. One of the direct interventions, as I had indicated, because the CIDB is also aimed at developing the construction industry. And the first part, the first 20 years has really been on the regulatory part. And the then minister, signed into law 2 important standards, which was the standard for indirect targeting, which is making it compulsory for subcontracting on all projects that are above 20 million. Because the philosophy there is that all sites that are big enough to be able to do development must do development. So there we were anticipating support to 1,000 contractors per year that will receive developmental support on this. And then the second standard is on the skills standard, which again uses the same principle to saying all projects that are above 20 million rand, they must have minimum set standards on how many internships, training opportunities, because what we found as a CIDB, there was a significant mismatch where those that were from TVET colleges, artisans, were not getting construction experience because most of the work was deemed to be unskilled labor. And then you get that mismatch where they can't also do their artisan training and others, including those that are candidates. So with that, standards, we are aiming to ultimately raise over 400 million per year for training, for workplace training, which will benefit about 10,000 learners in the TVET and the artisan space, and 1,500 opportunities. And there are many clients that are doing exceptionally well in implementing these standards. Your likes of Sanral and others, where they've made it compulsory also for all their projects. For all their projects to include these standards that are now law. And we also, as a CIDB, bill clients 0.2% to build a fund for direct training of construction industry participants. And that fund was aimed at being 1.5 billion over the next 5 years. And these are some of the activities. I hope the presentation was shared, honorable members. These are some of the activities around contractor development, which we have started on significantly on the assessment of prior learning, construction management system, construction management guidelines, which in the initial year when we launched this program 2 years ago, we were focusing only on women-owned construction companies, but now are expanding that to all other contractors. And also on the skills development, establishing centers of excellence, including in TVET colleges and other types of training. Also, what has been a milestone in terms of the direct intervention was also trying to raise funds, also including from other DFIs. We've recently signed with the CIDFA, a agreement where, because they were also losing appetite in terms of funding of SMMEs in the construction industry because of the risk associated. So we as the CIDB have contributed, have already paid 100 million towards that fund, which has been matched by CIFA, but have committed to contribute by the end of this financial year, 150 million to establishing that. Other DFIs are also joining in. So what we are trying to create here is a fund that will assist contractors in terms of the bridging finance aspect and guarantees. And we are also bringing other DFIs that have a mandate to dealing with SMMEs in that space. We've had huge successes in terms of the higher contractors in terms of improving construction management systems in their businesses. And these have been well received, and these standards also help for them to be able to integrate the environmental, the quality management system, and health and safety without it being exorbitant, as some of the international standards that sometimes clients also call for, like your ISO, become very expensive to maintain. These are offered at free of charge to our contractors with the aim of, in the 5 years, of looking at 2,000 women-owned businesses and 10,000 in general. And then also, we are doing a lot of work on assessment of prior learning for those contractors that have been in the space to highlight the gaps that have been there. We piloted last year with 500 and are aiming at 2,000 this year, where we will close those gaps in terms of the business management and the works management using training providers. We've piloted all of these in the past 2 years, and now at a scale of implementing it to ensure that by the time our new regulations come into place, we've provided a sufficient pipeline of contractors without adding an additional burden on attaining those construction management systems and also the assessments of prior learning. I've indicated that we are also establishing centers of excellence that are focusing on industry capacity, which we've been quite successful in with minimal investment, really, because our regulations, we believe, ought to be based in sound research and evidence-based research that we've done. So in the past financial year, through the Centers of Excellence and also at UJ, and we've established an additional one at WITS. We've been able to do research in areas ranging from risk management practices, digital technologies in the construction industry, and in the process having trained 52 honors graduates, 12 PhDs and postdocs, and many of these are South African students that have gone on to teach at other universities, which is a huge success of these partnerships with some of these universities in capacity building. Because, for instance, if you look at Walter Sisulu, TUT, UJ, DUT, all those head of departments were trained through these CIDB centers of excellence, and they are also training others. Our students, the young people that are participating in the building information systems, have also done exceptionally well in the BRICS Future Skills Forums, where we've supported over 100 in the last financial year alone, and also many, we even won gold in that particular competition in terms of our skills, because we also need to also integrate future skills. But this is the work that also just supports some of the policy initiatives that we are taking now. Chairperson and honorable members, I thank you for the opportunity to present here. I'm quite happy to go to any part of the presentation and provide further details, or if there are aspects that were not covered, to also come back to deal with those if the committee feels the need to do so. I thank you all, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, CEO. Thank you, Chairperson. Are you fine? Chairperson of CIDB.
I'm fine, thank you, Chairperson.
Are you fine?
Just for the honorable member to note that I've got my finest jacket on.
I see. Okay, honorable members, there are the two presentations. I'm going to allow you, honorable members, to ask, for a start, to ask 4 questions, which will immediately be answered. Indicate which organizations you are directing your questions. I'm going to start with Honorable Poole, followed by Honorable Stolle, followed by Honorable Dlamini, followed by Honorable Frenchman, Honorable Abada, Honorable Duterte. Let's start with 4 questions each, and you will indicate whether it's for CIDB or for NHBRC. Honorable Poole.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes. Continue.
I don't know why my video is not working.
We see you. We can see you. You are wearing spectacles. You are wearing a suit and
Okay.
spectacles.
Okay, Chair. Let me welcome the two presentations. Also, greetings to the Deputy Minister and honorable members, and as well the DG of the department and officials, everybody on the platform. Starting with, Chair, allow me to finish my 6 questions. It's 2 for CIDB and 4 for NHBRC. I will be very quick. During the presentation we received on CIDB, I want to pose 2 questions. One, it appears that subcontractors are not required to register. However, past experience have shown that delayed payments to subcontractors can lead to frustration, projects delays, financial implications for the community. Can you clarify if there's a way for CIDB to include subcontractors in their processes to protect them from exploitation? 2, just on the CIDB's presentation, I am curious how the plan reforms proposed to revise grading criteria, integrate skills assessments at 1, and increase tender value limits. How will these reforms ensure that they do not exclude smaller contractors who lack financial capital but have proven track records under development frameworks? Presentation of NHBRC 1 regards accountability and consequences in light of the NHBRC's statutory obligations to review geotechnical reports and structural solutions and enforce compliance with technical standards. What specific systemic or leadership's failures contributed to the George building collapse? What accountability mechanisms, both managerial and regulatory, will be instituted to restore public trust and prevent such tragedies? 2, strengthening protocol adherence, considering that late enrollment is both a criminal and disciplinary offense under the Act. What new oversight or enforcement frameworks will be introduced to ensure real-time compliance monitoring, especially in the high-risk or multi-story projects? 3, Section 14, compliance data in light of Section 14, which strictly prohibits construction without an enrollment certificate. Can the minister provide a breakdown of non-compliant projects over the past 5 years? And B, the number and nature of enforcement actions taken and their outcomes. Lastly, number 4, scope of enrollment projects, given that working on an unenrollment site is a prosecutable offense. Can the minister disclose the total number of projects that commence without NHBRC approval over the last 5 years, but geographic trends or departmental patterns can be identified from these violations? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. CIDB.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I don't know if my podcast wants to start first, and then I'll take the ones that he delegates to me, Chairperson, if allowed through you.
Yes.
Okay.
You want your chair to start?
Protocol normally dictates.
The CEO seems to be delegating upwards, Chair. Chair, just as an overall comment there on the issue raised by the honourable member on the subcontractors, we must also remember how the CIDB was initiated. It was actually to deal with contractors that are engaged with the state, and therefore it covers the procurement process, and therefore we then regulate those contractors. Now, the struggle that we've had with subcontractors is that they are not directly engaged with the state, and there's no formal contract between the state and the subcontractors, which gives us a little bit of a complication in terms of dealing with them, because then it becomes a private contractor dealing with another private subcontractor. And yes, the complaints have come through to our office, Chair, around the subcontracting. And what we are then looking at is to offer practice guidelines, which are some of the measures that we use to try and create some stability around issues that we sometimes do not have full control over. So that is one of the measures that we are looking at. And also the other issue around the payments, that's a very important one, Chair. And it even affects our grading. We can't really make proper assessment even of those registered contractors once clients do not pay. And I must say, Chair, that this has been a huge problem, especially over the last year, where even our original, or I would say our main contractors, are not being paid. Yes, there might be dispute issues between the subcontractor and the main contractor, but we are finding a lot of issues around payments of even the main contractor, especially from the government institution, which is becoming a huge challenge. Again, we have been tasked to make some intervention around that as the CIDB, as the regulator, to see what is it that we can do to try and normalize the payment process and ensure that the 30-day payment period is adhered to. So yes, Chair, I think on the subcontractor issues, we deal with that through our practice notes that we issue regularly to the industry to administer certain challenges and also to provide solutions of course, the practice notes don't have a legal standing as a regulation or an act itself. But those are some of the measures that are taken. CE, I'm not sure if there's anything you want to add as well. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. And through the Chairperson of the committee, there has been a standard also that Chairperson was gazetted as to what support main contractors ought to be giving. And we've asked that infrastructure clients themselves make that compulsory in their tender documents so that the main contractor can also be taken to task, provided that he has been paid and has not paid. Chairperson. Yes, and then the other aspect, Chairperson, the honourable member has requested on the integration of training, Chairperson. We usually have a significant lag time as a CIDB between introducing our regulations with the developmental support that we give to contractors to ensure that we don't create unnecessary barriers of entry, into the construction industry. Hence the build program. We had anticipated that our new regulations were going to be considered in 2025, 2026. Hence we started in 2023-24 to start training contractors on what will be the new regulations. And that's why we are doing the assessments of prior learning provinces currently. Probably we are currently this quarter, we are looking at over 1,000 contractors that will also be receiving developmental to close those gaps. The increase in the tender value limit are really linked to inflationary increases. They actually provide more opportunities. So, for instance, instead of being limited to 500,000, it can increase. I think the proposal is 620,000 because it has not been increased, I think, in the past 5 years. So it does provide that opportunity. But as a regulator, we have to also balance with the risk mitigation of saying now we are allowing our contractors to be able to do more, especially since we are spending taxpayer money on some of these infrastructures to ensure that then they are capable of undertaking that. So, for instance, at grade 9, you might find that grade 8 companies now will be able to do over 200 million, but we just also need to just make sure that they are also supported to be able to complete projects that are like that. So that's really the balancing act of being a developmental regulator, to ensure that we don't create barriers that are necessary, but for those that we are putting in as requirements for registration, there is an avenue for people to gain that particular support. But the relationship between main contractor and subcontractor is something that we are also dealing with in our regulation amendments, because it's quite a challenge, because a lot of the Black-owned businesses usually enter the construction industry using those types of arrangements, and payment is key for their success. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members.
Thank you. NHBRC.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Let me first appreciate the questions from Honorable Poole, and I will allow the acting CEO and her team on the platform to add if there's any addition. On the question of accountability, Honorable Poole, as I indicated earlier, through you, Chair, that the question of the new act is assisting us to some great extent, in that it introduces higher penalties to defaulting contractors, and it is, once we pass the regulations, it is going to help us a great deal. But also with the employees that would be found wanting in terms of their responsibilities, the disciplinary processes are always there. The honorable member has referred to the George collapse. We need to indicate that such disciplinary processes are continuing, and therefore at times disclosing the kind of detail can jeopardize those processes. With respect to the non-compliant projects, the kind of question honorable member has shared with us requires statistical information, which I think both the third and fourth question on the projects that has started without approval in the last 5 years, and non-compliant projects, that information will be forwarded to the committee and to the honorable member. Definitely, we may not have it readily on hand now. I will allow, though, the technical team, as led by the acting CEO, to cover those areas that I would not have touched. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Acting CEO.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you to Honourable Member Poole for the questions. I think Chair has largely covered us. I just wanted to add on, in terms of the protocol adherence around the late enrollments, to the home builder, a non-compliance is issued, which results in a suspension of the home builder, and they are also referred to the disciplinary committee. That is an independent committee of NHBRC, where the builders will be required to attend, and the result of that would be a fine that would be levied. Currently, I think as Chairperson raised, we are quite limited in terms of our recourse, but that will be addressed with the new act. So I think that's all I wanted to add on to what Chairperson had already alluded to, and I think, as correctly said, the statistical information we will provide and forward. Thank you.
Okay. Non-compliance project and project without approval. Can we note that they need return submission? Thanks very much. Honorable Stolle.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and greetings to DM, the chairperson of both committees of entities, and the officials, and the CEO. And Honorable Chairperson, I have two questions on the NHBRC. The first one is that, Honorable Chairperson, do they have enough inspectors? Or if they do have enough inspectors, can they give us the inspectors per province, if they do have enough inspectors, and the capacity of that inspectors? And the second one, Honorable Chairperson, there are homes which are enrolled after constructions to the NHBRC. Does that allowed? Because it is happening. If the two questions can be answered by them. And the Honorable Chairperson, when it comes to CIDB, Honorable Chairperson, I have some issues in NHBRC. The first one, I didn't hear the standard of what standard are they using for women in constructions. Because if you see the gradings, they are just a blanket gradings, but per structures, per structures they're supposed to be in a construction, like women's, youth, and disability. There's nothing that has been said here about it. And the second one, Honorable Chairperson, is the issue of grading, grade 1, because most of us are in grade 1. We are not growing. And most of us are in subcontractors. We are not growing. When they say they actually work according to what the constructions are registered with government, it gives me a message that they don't care about the subcontractors. That's why the subcontractors are suffering instead of getting money in times, instead of paying laborers and workers in times. They are failing because of this. They have to look at it. If they say they don't care, because the message says they don't care about the subcontractors. They don't care about the grade 1, because the grade 1 is where people are suffering. And the other one, Honorable Chairperson, is the issue of capacity, financial capacity, when it's come to grade 1. If that one can be addressed, Honorable Chairperson, because if you are talking about 500,000 or 500 million or 5 million or 500,000, I don't know what does that say? It means they are not going to grow. They are not going to be upgraded. That's why they are downgraded most of the time. So if that one, Honorable Chairperson, can be addressed, and the issue of skill assessment on grade 1, because most of the time is where people are suffering, and the issue of renting, because we find that some of people constructors who are in grade 1, they are being used to be they are used by big guys they are fronting by them to do construction. That's why they don't grow. What system do they have to see that they take the grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 seriously for the upgrading of our people? Because the issue of transformation, Honorable Chairperson, in construction industry is very key, Honorable Chairperson. It's very critical. So if that one can be actually looked at. And the last one, Honorable Chairperson, is the issue of this mafia. What are they? What message do they have on the mafia on constructions? Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. NHBRC.
Honorable Chairperson, my sincere apologies. I was kicked out when Honorable Stolle was talking at first. only rejoined when he was referring to to the to CIDB. My apologies for that. I will allow the team, as led by this acting CEO, to answer the question. I don't want to take the meeting back. Thank you.
Acting CEO.
Thank you very much, Chair and Honourable Member Sithole. In the first question was around our inspectorate. We currently have around just under 180 inspectors throughout the country. We have noticed that we do have some gaps in terms of capacity. So what we have done is we are moving towards what we call a hybrid inspectorate model, which will allow us also to outsource our inspections. Currently, we are using that method to help us address where we have a lack of capacity in terms of number of inspectors on the ground, as well as highly complex projects that would require assistance or more technical assistance or expertise than what we have available within our inspectorate. We would be able to send through the submission as well with more details of number of inspectors that are allocated per province. The second question was around the late enrollments. Yes, we are aware that that is happening. There is a process that does cater for it. We do have a late enrollment process whereby the non-compliance would be issued. There would be a disciplinary process. But over and above that, the builder would be required to submit technical documentation to help us assess if the technical requirements were complied with during the construction phase that occurred before the enrollment. So we do have that process in place, and once the documentation has been assessed, we would require a financial guarantee. It's basically a risk mitigation process that we have in place based on that we were not privy to the enrollment or the construction before it started. So while late enrollments are not encouraged and it's not allowable in terms of the Section 14, the Act does cater for it, and we do have a process to cater for late enrollments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. CIDB.
Thank you, Chair. It's important that we perhaps just get into a little bit of history in trying to understand where we come from and where we are. The honourable member correctly raises an issue around women in construction, and I think as a regulator, we are not the ones who actually, we can't be the referee and the player. We monitor and regulate the industry. And what we look at is to look at our criteria, how we are registering contractors, and see whether it does give us the results that we require in terms of transformation. And over the years, we have changed our regulation criteria to make sure we have lessened our requirements to try and ensure where at a point 96% of the contractors were only between grade 1 and 2. And now we're seeing a change from where we were to where we are now. And obviously, there's an advancement of the women in construction. It's just that I'm not sure whether the CEO can share that slide to see the number of women in construction and the youth and the disabled. There has been a vast improvement in terms of the activity around women in construction, even though we don't have a category that says women in construction grade 1, but we do want that aspect of it, and we do report on it in terms of the companies that are registered for women and youth and disabled. So we do have those statistics, and we monitor the regulation requirements to actually see, are we pulling through? Is it effective? What are the reasons why we are not seeing the growth in these sectors or in these spheres of around women and disabled and youth? So we do have reports on that. Again, maybe let me clarify around the subcontractors. It's our legislation that limits us to engage that are registered with projects within the public sector. And that is probably legislative oversight in the sense that we don't directly deal with some. What we do, first of all, we endorse contracts that are used within the industry, so JBCC contracts, your feed contracts, your GCC contracts, and we do look at terms and conditions. So from that, there should not be any unfairness if the contract is adhered to. However, these issues where there's a dispute between the main contractor and the subcontractor. And we also do encourage the subcontractors, they do register that they
Chairperson.
Chair, Mr. Nzo is breaking. Or is it me?
No, I think it's Mr. Nzo. He's gone, he's been kicked out. CEO, continue.
Yeah, Chairperson, if I allow, Chairperson, maybe I can give number two question.
The same problem again.
Do I have the same problem, Chair?
Yes, we hear many voices from you.
Chairperson,
Maybe the presenters must just maybe turn off the videos.
Yeah, turn off the video and let's hear.
Is that Chairperson?
Oh, many voices. I don't know.
Can you switch off the other gadget? If you're all sitting in a boardroom, one gadget, the volume must be off.
Honorable DM, I'm alone in the program. I'm just going to change devices completely and then try another Chairperson.
All right.
Can I be admitted on the other device?
Yes, Chair. Just try everything that will assist us.
Yeah, I think the FSA must flip that room.
Chairperson, is it better now, Chairperson?
Yeah, it's better.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. On the first question by Honorable Jobe on the standards using for women for women contractors, Chairperson, on the build program, as I had indicated, women-owned companies were the first ones to benefit from all development initiatives, and there is always also the program that was launched by the CIDB on of women in construction. What we've also done, because when projects in the public sector are also limited, we've also signed MOUs with private sector companies that do a lot of construction, especially in areas like total facilities management and others, which comes with a lot of construction component. One of the latest agreements is, for instance, with a company that does quite a few, both private sector and public sector, where they are committed in their supply chain and transforming their supply chain and designating opportunities for women that are participating in the ERWIC program that CIDB launched 4 or 5 years ago. And we are starting to see more work being given. There is definitely statistics and growth of women and people and youth in the construction industry participating, including at higher grades, including at grade 9. The area that CIDB is struggling with in terms of its full reach is with peoples with disability. Hence, the partnerships with the Department of Women, Youth and Peoples with Disabilities in the presidency to ensure that construction is also as accommodating as it could be for also peoples with disability. That's one area where we are not really winning the battle at this stage, and we are open to partnerships with as many private and public sector partners in ensuring that. Grade 1s, yes, it is a struggle for the growth of grade 1s, and the CIDB is relying on 3 pillars on growing of grade 1s. The first one is the contractor development program. Our aim is to have each and every infrastructure client have a CIDB accredited contractor development program, which takes contractors outside a competitive process where they can be developed. The unfortunate part here is that currently we are only supporting 1,500 contractors, with 32 infrastructure clients. Hence, we are capacitating clients on how to establish contractor development programs and also providing opportunities for mentorship so that we also lessen the burden on contractors. And the build program, Chairperson, as I had indicated, has a huge emphasis on lower grade contractors with construction management guidelines, which we have developed and also are updating, that talks to what are the skills that a grade 1 contractor ought to have for them to be successful in the construction industry. The financial capacity of 500,000, that is the limit that we've put to saying if you are untested in the construction industry, as most of our grade ones are, you can do work up to 500,000. That's a risk mitigation tool. But we don't require them to prove any available capital or past turnover, because we understand those are new companies. And as I had indicated, with an assessment that will improve their capability to deliver, it makes it easier for the CIDB to even increase that threshold, because we have to balance the risk to the taxpayer money and also development, which I think is something that we need to be dealing with. Fronting is a very significant challenge to detect and to deal with, but our code of conduct does allow us to saying if there are aspects of that of fronting in the construction industry during the procurement process, we can use our code of conduct to deregister or take to task that particular contractor. But the challenge face, Honorable Chairperson and members, is that with fronting, you need all industry stakeholders to participate in the reporting. For instance, I make an example of projects. If I'm a project manager and I'm told that there are 5 grade 1 contractors, women-owned construction companies, but I don't see those people in site meetings, in construction sites, then chances of that being a fronting initiative are very high. But it requires all stakeholders of the industry to be as to how we can deal with this, because it's one of the areas that have become very difficult to detect. When people come for registration, we have the right signatures, the right participants, but in practice, when it goes to construction sites, we don't even have an appreciation of the full extent of something is happening in most sectors of our economy. Yes, transformation is very key, hence the revision of the criteria. If we look at the criteria, for instance, in 2007 and others, where we also required additional requirements that were once removed, and risk mitigation was accommodated using other means, where for transformation purposes, because the industry was complaining that we are asking them to have resources that they cannot keep when they do not have sufficient projects. Hence, we moved our registration to have a lot of emphasis on past completed projects and increased the period to 5 years for the validity of projects, so that we can accommodate, but still doing it in a responsible manner, Chairperson. The construction mafia, we are working and it's proving to be successful with the SAPS and National Treasury. One, with National Treasury on regulations that will not, because we are drafting the regulations that will accompany the public procurement bill, on regulations that will not incentivize or create an unintended consequences of more construction disruptions. And the police have also, they have, through Honorable Minister Mkunu and the Commissioner, a dedicated line that we are seeing increase in reported cases and arrest. I would gladly share those statistics with the committee, starting from November last year, when we had our summit on site disruptions in Durban, crime-free construction sites, and the declaration that was signed by the police, Public Works, CIDB, and National Treasury on how we will deal with the issue of the construction mafia. I have to say, because we are seeing increased reporting with the police, it's a good sign for us as a CIDB that people are trusting the system rather than feeding the beast by paying some of these extortion bribes. And also the number of arrests that have happened in the past 2 quarters are increasing significantly, and we are aiming that will also cause as a deterrent. We've also are establishing a relationship with CIRAM, the regulator for private securities, because that's another area where we've seen as a challenge, where extortionists pose as security companies. we are seeing how that regulator can also assist in solving the problem by having a much more stringent code of conduct to saying you don't get a license if you are found guilty or found guilty of also doing extortionist services. And the CIDB supports government with research also in the area so that we are able to have policy interventions that could assist. But it is a challenge that, in my view, I think we are winning, but there's still a lot more effort that we need to put on it to ensure that our construction sites are crime-free and we are able to develop genuine community members with the project, especially when we advocate for subcontracting and set-asides in these large infrastructure projects that are happening in the country. I thank you, Chairperson. I'm not sure if there's any question I missed from Honorable Job.
Thanks very much. I think it's only NHBRC that must provide statistics on the number of inspectors per province. We will note that. Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you so much, Chair. Greetings to everyone present in the meeting. Chair, request to keep my camera off. We're getting ready, Siokata country in terms of the budget, so I'm not in a very conducive environment. My first question would be to the NHBRC in terms of, I hear that you've got about 180 inspectors. I also want to know in terms of capacity to access certain geographical areas that might be difficult in rural areas. Do you have the capacity in terms of vehicles and how to get there? And is there an ease to move around the country in all its different aspects there? And then with regards to what the CEO of CIDB was saying with the report of the last 2 quarters when it comes to getting arrests and mitigating in terms of the issue of construction mafias, if that report can be made available to us as well, and where they found that there was interference in particular construction sites, what has been the remedial action? And do you restart the process? Now, this is to NHBRC as well. Do you restart the process of rechecking projects? And I think when it comes to the George building collapse, it's getting really frustrating. It's been over a year now, where we are probing questions with regards to that particular incident. And we're told that there's issues that are sensitive, there are things that we can't get into, whereas there has been survivors to that incident who equally need closure with what happened when that building collapsed. And we really need to close the issue of the report, because my assumption was that when the minister went to the media to deliver a report with regards to the George building collapse, that there would have been at least a completion that when the committee comes and probes further into what happened when that building collapsed, we would at least be appraised with information. And if really there's information that is sensitive, that is not ready for public consumption, we can also request for a closed meeting so that at least we know what is it that happened. And then, does CIBD have intervention mechanisms when projects are abandoned? Does that affect the grading of contractors should they abandon projects and not live up to contractual obligations? And then lastly, to the NHBRC, who handles your database? Is it an external company, or do you have internal ways to handle database, and how often is that cleaned? And where can we get particular information? And is the information of contractors also made public? That's to the CIDB. Do you have contractual contractors and their grading? Is it made public, and is it accessible for the public? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Dlamini. NHBRC.
The team with the acting CEO will take the questions. I'll come back, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Acting CEO.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the questions, Honorable Member. With regards to our inspectors and reaching the difficult terrain in rural areas, We do provide our inspectors with tools of trade to enable them to be mobile and access the difficult and rural terrains. We are aware of which areas are more difficult or more remote, also in terms of density of the houses. So that is made in the work allocation, although those are taken into consideration during the work allocation between our inspectorate. We do have an internal database of registered home builders. It is updated and maintained on a regular basis. That's all handled internally, and it is available on request. Thank you, Chair. I think that covers the questions for NHBRC. Thank you.
Thank you, CIDB. Oh, Chairperson, NHBRC first. Do you want to say something?
Okay, no, thank you, Chair. On the question of the sensitivities around the George building collapse, one must indicate, Honorable Chairperson, that sad as that experience has been, we all feel the kind of pain that is there, that has been experienced by the community in George, by the relatives of the people there. And we wouldn't want to jeopardize. I want to stress this. There's nothing we're hiding, but we don't want to jeopardize the success of both prosecution and success of our own internal disciplinary processes by sharing publicly the issues that are discussed in those two processes. Honorable Chairperson, if the honorable members talks about a closed meeting, that's entirely up to the committee. But for ourselves, we wouldn't want to jeopardize, because once we jeopardize the information there, we risk justice being averted, and we want to see justice being done. So I would want the honorable member, and I would really persuade you to understand the predicament that we face as people who must now deal with the aftermath of that incident. And we really would want to get those diseases that are currently underway to ensure that whoever has not played the role they should have is really taken to book, and there's full accountability. That's really the only reason. The police on the other side are also doing their own work. They, at the right time, will be able to say whom have they in their investigation found to have to account, and who then, once then the case goes, there's someone arrested, obviously that will be then a public matter. Can we please, honorable member and honorable members, keep it at that? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. CIDB.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just cover one or two aspects and then allow the CP again to compliment me. Chair, on the report, we will share the report on the status regarding the construction disruptions. This was a report that emanated from the summit that was held last year, and the progress report thereof has been updated, and that information is there. So we'll gladly share that information. And also just to confirm that our Our contractors grading is public. You can actually go to the CIDB website, search for a contractor, and you will immediately see their grading and whether they are active in terms of registration. So I think we have invested quite a lot in moving our system online, and even the contractors themselves are able to see, clients are able to see. So there's no excuse for appointing a contractor that is not registered. That information is publicly available online. As to the projects that are abandoned and the contractors, yes, we are starting to deal with these aspects, Chair. We are starting to deal with the aspects of fraudulent contractors that are registered. We are on a firm campaign now to register contractors that we have discovered to have acquired their grading fraudulently. And our minister has pronounced on this. We are just tying our loose ends, complying to PAJA, etc. There's a set of contractors that will be deregistered and that will be publicly announced. We are also... Chair, am I still audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. And we are also looking at the contractors that are not complying with the code of conduct and where there are quality issues. But then again, if these issues are not reported to CIDB, we struggle to follow up on these issues so that we can make a proper assessment when these contractors come and re-register again. It would be good to have that report so that we know that they have abandoned projects elsewhere, because when they register, we rely on the information that they provide. So I guess we need to move on a campaign with clients themselves where they actually get to report contractors that have abandoned these projects. So it's an ongoing exercise, Chair, where we are trying to really clean up our register at the moment. CE, you can cover me on the other issues. Thank you. Through you, Chair, of course. Thanks.
Thank you. See?
Chairperson, yes, Chairperson. I think I've been covered by the board chairperson with the aspect. The only additional aspect I would like to add on the units that deals with failed projects. We require the participation of our infrastructure clients to register the project with us and tell us the performance. But we are also assisting the Auditor General as to on their working papers on how to audit for infrastructure projects, especially those projects that are deemed to be non-compliant, because sometimes the root cause is masked by the fact that it's only the contractor that is attributed, whereas in other cases it could be a consultant that has failed to issue drawings on site on time, or client that has paid late for the successful completion. So also the partnership with the Auditor General as they audit these infrastructure projects is also maturing, Chairperson, which should assist change the culture in the industry regarding failed projects.
Thank you. I think with regard to the George building, the DM is here. We will engage with the minister and see how best can we deal with this report, because in terms of parliamentary rules, the only report that we may not discuss is the one that is before the court of law. And if nothing is is not before the court of law, we need to see how best do we deal with this. In terms of disciplinary processes, I think the chairperson, you are aware that in terms of disciplinary processes, you don't need to prove beyond any reasonable doubt. It's only in a court of law that you need to prove beyond any reasonable doubt. But I think there's a bit of pressure from the public to know more details about the report. We will discuss with the minister and see how best can we deal with it so that members of the portfolio committee are able to have sight of what is really contained in the report. If it can be noted, Selina, so that we are able to follow it up. Thanks very much, Honorable Frenchman. Honorable Stolle, if you can lower your hand so that we see whether it's a new hand or an old one. Honorable Frenchman.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to all present. To the NHBRC, I just want to say it's all good, giving us a presentation of the handbook. I mean, we could have downloaded that and go through it ourselves. But none of the issues that has been previously raised by this committee was addressed. That is what we need a presentation on, Chairperson. The NHBRC is not a new entity. It has been around for a while. What we need them to report on is the concerns raised by this committee and what they have undertaken to address it. And then to the CIDB, what does the CIDB do with main contractors? This is the same as Honorable Bali's question. Do with main contractors that has been involved in corruption within the human settlements portfolio. In previous instances, what has the CIDB done to main contractors that left projects incompleted? What was the consequence management that was implemented, and why, in some instances, has these contractors who defaulted been given new contracts? I'm asking this, Chairperson, because based on what was said now during the answers, it's almost like these issues only started happening now. It's not new issues. It's been coming on for years. And why is it only now being addressed by both entities? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. CIDB.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the issue with the main contractors is not as straightforward and as simple as we assume it to be, Chair. In many instances, you might find that a contractor will abandon a project due to non-payment. Many instances, you find a contractor abandons a project due to incorrect specification or variation orders that haven't been paid, etc., etc. So it's not an easy, straightforward one where once you see a contractor off-site, you then assume that they are the ones at fault. It actually needs some a kind of further investigation to actually establish what the root cause is. And as I've mentioned, in instances where it is clear that a contractor has abandoned site, there are those as well, but the clients don't report those to us, so that we are aware when we look at the registration of that contractor to say, listen, we are unable to register you again because you have defaulted, you abandoned the project and were unable to complete. So those are the kinds of issues or challenges that we have around there. Part of our solution, Chair, has been to with our new regulations, new Amendment Act as well, that is currently being reviewed, is that we have recommended the Office of the Ombudsman to deal with such disputes, to actually interrogate some of these matters and make a ruling as far as construction-related matters are concerned. So that is possibly a solution that will assist in resolving such issues, so that we can actually know whether we should register that contractor because they have defaulted due to their own fault. So that would cover the issue around completed and incompleted. I also need to clarify the issue around subcontractors. This is also being dealt with in our new Amendment Act. So we have identified it as a gap currently within our current legislation, but with our proposed amendments, we have actually covered that gap where CIDB will be dealing directly with subcontractors as well. I'm not sure whether the CE wants to add anything there through you.
See.
Yes, Chairperson and Honorable Frenchman. Yes, it is a renewed focus for us in terms of the deregistrations with a specialized unit that deals with those particular cases under the COO. In terms of the corruption during the procurement processes, we really rely, and I have invested also on campaigns for infrastructure clients and other participants to report to those cases. And the bulk of our investigations, I think we have over 300 cases that we are investigating this quarter, also comes from participants where either an official within the municipality has whistleblown using our hotline, or we use or KPMG services that we use for reporting on these cases. So it's receiving now renewed focus and resources The enforcement unit was established, I think, 4 years ago, but is getting also more investigators and more lawyers, with some even at Advert currently, to also help us deal with these issues, so that we can keep the construction industry as clean as possible, Chairperson.
Thank you. NHBRC.
No, thank you, Honorable Chairperson. And also thanks to Honorable Fransman. Let me, Honorable Chair, indicate that when we prepared this report or the presentation to the committee, we were guided by the committee in terms of what the committee wanted us to deal with. And it's very specific. It says criteria and approval process for approving homes built and the general role in construction. Now, our presentation was responding to that. If then that was not the expectation of the committee or of the honorable members, we may be guided, Honorable Chairperson. We did the best we can to respond to what the committee had requested from us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you responded in line with the request. I think what the member wanted to ask or should have asked is about what she might have seen. You'll remember that in one meeting, Honorable Gamede even showed you a picture. But I would expect the member to be specific and ask as to, if this is your criteria, if this is how you work, how come that this kind of a project, which does not meet your criteria, is approved? I would have expected that. But it's fine. I think there will be follow-ups to make sure that we move on. Honorable why is my list now cockeyed? Because Honorable Wabada was to follow. Honorable Frenchman, if you are fine, you can lower your hand.
Can I go, Chair?
Yes, Honorable Abada.
Do I have to put my camera on? No,
Yes.
say no.
See you.
Why?
Want to see the princess. Continue, Honorable Abada.
Okay. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you to, or good morning to the Deputy Minister and everybody that's there today. Thank you for the presentations. But, you know, a year down the line and we're still sitting with the same problems. We're still sitting with the NHBRC. We're still sitting with the construction mafia. We raised these concerns when we came into the 7th administration. And we seem to be asking the same questions continuously, and we don't seem to be getting the answers that we need. So I don't understand why we're here a year later. With regards to the George building collapse, there again, you know, I know that they're saying that there's investigations going on, but this is clear because NHBRC and the construction company is who's involved here. Why is there no arrest being made as yet? So we're sitting with the same situation with no answers. So I don't accept that there's an investigation. We need proper answers here. And then with regards to, sorry, Chair, I'm actually on my way to Parliament. Okay, so that would be my two questions to NHBRC. Sorry. And then to the second presentation, sorry, Chief, sorry. I'm trying to multitask here, like our DM. Okay, so why does the current CIDB grading system disproportionately disadvantage small and emerging contractors who lack access to capital but possesses proven track records? And what concrete steps has CIBD taken to eliminate gatekeeping and corruption in contractor registration and project award processes, particularly or at provincial and municipal levels? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. NHBRC.
No, thank you, Chair. Thank you to Honorable Abada. Honorable Chairperson, I think I have expressed what the NHBRC position is on the matter, and you have ruled that as a committee on the George matter, how you wish to take it forward. I'm not sure now, because that's what I captured, that there is no investigation, and I will say, if there is no investigation, that investigation would be investigation by the police, not by NHBRC. NHBRC have done their part, and they have given through the minister the report to the police. So if there is no investigation, that would be the police not doing their part. And I thought you have properly ruled on that matter. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. CIDB.
Thank you, Chair. I will allow the CE to respond, and I'll probably respond if I have to after he's done. Thank you, Chair.
Yes. No, thank you, Chairperson of the committee, honorable members, and thank you very much, Honorable Abad, for the question. Our grading criteria, Chairperson, for the lower grades, for instance, for grade 1, which are contractors that are new to the sector, are able to do up to 500,000, and we have no barriers of entry there. And as I have explained in terms of how National Treasury ensures that payment is done against work proven. So contractors do need some financial capital in order to be able to finance the project and start with those. So on the developmental side of the CIDB, we have partnered with CIFA to allow for those funding, bridging funding finances, which is in the works, and we've been able to get match funding on that. So that should be launched to the contractors, but it's not going to completely close out the gap. The one fight that is really hammering contractors' progress is the payment on time by infrastructure client. So we ought to be working also on that part. We've tried within the legislation to reduce as much as possible the available capital requirement and the turnover requirements in order to allow more and more contractors to be able to register and grow and provide support to that. So we will continuously, where we can get better. For instance, if we infrastructure client could offer payment guarantees, which currently is not allowed within the procurement process and the rules of Treasury, then CIDB could comfortably remove the available capital requirement, because they could be, well, not completely, but reduce that, because there's certainty in terms of how projects are going to be funded. And then the gatekeeping, in terms of when the contractors engage with the CIDB, the main reason for modernizing our systems and moving completely online was to avoid also the issues of fraud and corruption during the registration process. There was what we found a couple of years ago when we started with the modernization, is that even when we are undertaking investigation, when things have gone wrong, sometimes files are not available or they've been tampered with. part of the huge motivation for moving our services completely online was that there's one version of the truth. So when we investigate or we engage with SIU to investigate some matters, we know exactly how contractors and what work they've done, and there's only one version of the truth. It's not manipulated by removal of things in the system. In terms of, and as I've indicated, where there is fraud or corruption during the procurement process, we are very much enabled to deal with those matters through the code of conduct and those matters. And we had taken quite a few matters on that, on both the clients where they go through a disciplinary process, a inquiry process, and we can levy a fine. But currently we're only limited to up to 100,000, which sometimes is not incentive enough to ensure that we show proper punishment for the wrong deed. But also on the contractors, using Section 19 of our Act, of our regulations, we are able to remove them, lose their license to operate. And that is the effort, honorable members, that I'm saying we are ramping up in order to ensure that the construction industry has limited bad actors in it so that it can grow.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Honorable Ditebe. Honorable Ditebe.
Chairperson, excuse me, let me take off my can you hear me, Chairperson?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you, Chair. Good morning to the DM, the DG, the chairs of the NH.
You are breaking.
Chairperson, maybe 1, 2, or 3 questions. Am I breaking?
Now you are clear.
Let me try to move around. Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Chairperson, just and thanks to the 2 entities indeed for sharing with us in great detail the work that they are doing. I just want to say, Chairperson, as a preface to the 2 questions that I'd like to ask, or maybe 3, you know, in terms of the MTF period, I think an estimated amount of 100 billion rand is expected to be spent. And of course, I know that on infrastructure generally, and I know that CIDB is contracted to do all of that, but plays a regulatory role. But the NHBRC, if you look at the human settlement sector, etc., down of pipes, and that with the construction of houses. I think it is something that, Chairperson, having listened to and CIDB, it is something that I think they need to be quite conscious about. They need to identify those milestones and ensure that that almost trillion rand is indeed used as part of the gross fixed capital formation to contribute to our gross domestic product. A very important indeed. I believe that that must be done. So it means that they must have all their ducks in a row. But having listened to them, I think from the CEO of the CIDB and the acting CEO of the NHBRC, I think they are on course to do that. So we offer our support as the portfolio committee to ensure that that indeed does happen. 2 questions, Chairperson. The first one is with respect to the transformation fund. Are there any contributions in respect of the 2 sectors that both entities operate in, CIDB and NHBRC? Any inputs or contributions that they've made with regards to enhancing that particular draft from Minister Tau, so that this ties up with what I have raised in respect of contributing to our GDP through gross fixed capital formation, and in particular here focusing on the CIDB. That's the first question, Chairperson. The next question, Chairperson, with regards to the NHBRC, and I've listened to the chair of ensures the NHBRC in respect of the George matter cooperates fully with the SIU, NPA, etc., so that we can even have the contractor in question blacklisted without preempting any eventuality or any outcome in respect of this case. And I'm raising this, Chairperson, because, and of course, the municipality itself will have to take responsibility because while the NHBRC is a regulatory body, there can be no doubt that the NHBRC, whatever happened there, all the lapses would not have happened without at least, from an administrative law perspective, without the municipality ensuring that the plans that were approved were indeed the right plans, because we at least know by now that the contractor deliberately misled the regulatory body, in this instance, the NHBRC, about the type of building that he was busy with, and with more than 30 lives having been lost. And I agree with the chairperson of the NHBRC here. There's still lots of pain in the community out there. Yes, some of those people are foreign nationals, but we are a country that prides itself on the best of human values. And so it cannot be simply that because people are foreign nationals, therefore they deserve to die or to be seriously wounded, injured the way they were when that particular building collapsed. So those are perhaps questions, comments that I'm making, Chairperson, directed to the two entities, and to lastly, Chairperson, ensure that in particular the NHBRC, I heard them talk about SITFA, if I heard them well. It is important that they indeed accelerate this so that your category of contractors that can to maybe it's with regards to CIDB, but whichever of these entities must deal with this question, please, if they could ensure that that happens, so that our townships can also look like places where humans live. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Let me start with CIDB.
Thank you, Chair. I must confess, Chair, some of the issues raised by Honorable were not so clear due to the network. I know he touched on the expenditure on the infrastructure, and I think I kind of follow where he was going with it, with the 1 trillion. And I must express that as CIDB, we get excited when there's infrastructure spend, because that's part of our mandate to ensure that we have a viable and a profitable industry. And we do get excited. So that's where we come in to ensure that we are facilitating that proper execution of those projects. But I just also wanted to perhaps give him a bit of bad news, that just to give him an understanding of what is also happening in the industry, and our challenge is that we have the budgets and we have the expenditure. And it's a pity that we were not aware, because we would have shared some slides and some information and some statistics around this, that what is also discouraging is the expenditure versus budget. we're seeing some low figures where 30% of the budget is spent. And that is very, very worrying, because it means the funds are available, but we are not spending it. And that is mostly within our municipalities, where we find that there are capacity issues, etc., etc. And the money that is actually available is not actually getting down to the ground, which is very worrying. And from CIDB side, we've tried to capacitate these institutions by sending teams to ensure that we assist them with the implementation of the projects, even with the procurement. So it is a bit worrying, and we are hopeful that with the 1 trillion, we'll keep on monitoring that as a regulator to see whether we are achieving that expenditure. Because the budget is one thing, the expenditure does seem to be a challenge. And I must also accept the encouragement around CIFA. We are applying pressure. As we said, now we've got 200 million rands that our contractors can access at the moment. So we need to ensure. But as an institution, we did not want to handle that. We actually diverted it to CITFA, as they are the financial institution, and also from a risk point of view. So ours now is to ensure that that money filters through to our contractors in terms of contractual support. But besides that, we also have the training programs which are underway. And we've received positive feedback in terms of our contractors and the free training that they are receiving through our build program. Through you, Chair, if the CE can just cover us on the transformation fund.
Chairperson, through the chairperson of the committee, thank you very much. On the transformation fund, we are working with our colleagues on the fund at IDC to make comments on that. And our contribution is more on the vertical integration of the industry, looking at equipment suppliers, material suppliers, because what we have found is that where concentrations of a few players monopolizing some aspects, for instance, on roads, have happened through the acquisition of quarries and others. So we said on the transformation fund, if there is a focus, well, the focus on infrastructure has to be there, and it's quite important, but our more on supporting on the other aspects, like on equipment supply, material supply, so that they can be both horizontal and vertical integration for some of our grade 9s, for them to be able to compete with some of the names that we've known for a while, especially in the road construction. That's where the major issues are. But we are making contribution on that through the Tirisana Fund, which is an entity that we work with at IDC.
Thank you, Chair.
NHBRC.
Thank you once more, Honorable Chairperson. And let me thank Honorable Ditebe on the level of understanding that he has displayed in the George matter. And mine is really to just appreciate that understanding. And there was no real question to ask, Chair. It is just to appreciate and thank the comments, especially as positive as he has presented them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Karakile.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, DM, DG, Chairperson of NHBRC and Chairperson of CIDB and the delegation. Chair, I only have a few questions. I'm just going to go straight. The first question is directed to NHBRC. And it's with regard to what we saw during our oversight in KwaZulu-Natal. Even in Free State, we identified that most of the houses, they were of poor quality. And we were told that the inspectors, they've issued the certificates. In that case, because the presentation is clear, the person who issued a certificate to a poor quality house
Chair, I will request that in our next meeting, the entity can give us a report as to what is it that they are doing and how far are they doing it. Because we cannot just be having the inspectors who are not committed to their job. And then the second question is with regard to the payment of the registration of contractors. I just want to find out from NHBRC if the person's company was not functioning due to financial constraints for some years. If that person now wants to register again, is that person expected to pay the registration fee for the years that they did not pay, even when they were not working? And then the first question to CIDB, under the strategic intervention, one of their construction industry development strategy is to capacitate the stakeholders. I'm aware that they've presented whatever that they've done and the numbers of people covered. I just want to find out who are their stakeholders and are their trainings open for everybody, even if that person is not one of the entity stakeholders. And then when they assess the projects, in the presentation somewhere, it is indicated that the CIDB, they do assess if the contractor is undertaking more projects simultaneously, just to check if that contractor is overstretched. My question is, when do they say a company is overstretched, and what is it that they do when they find out that a particular company is overstretched? Chair, I'm asking this question because when we were visiting Free State, one contractor was all over the place. Wherever we go, he is there. So I just want to know, are they able to pick such things? Thank you, Chair. That is my contribution.
Thank you. NHBRC.
Thank you once more, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you to Honorable Kehakilwe for the questions. Honorable Chair, on the question of the responses to oversight, I think the Honorable Member has requested that in our next meeting, we provide a report, which we are willing to do. I hope the CEO takes note of that, but I will allow on the CEO the acting CEO to come and respond to the other questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Acting CEO.
Thank you, Chair. In response to the question of the Honourable Member for the question, yes, if not renewed for a number of years, when they come back to renew for the years that they were not renewing, because it is a requirement of our Act that the membership is renewed on an annual basis. So they won't have to re-register renewal fee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So what you are saying, acting C, is that they must pay, what do you call it? They must pay for all those years, even if they were not active. Is that my understanding?
Yes, Chairperson.
All right. CIDB.
Thank you, Chair. I'll allow the CE to attend to the questions, but I just wanted to draw something to the committee's attention, which they might not be aware. With regard to the training, Chair, the training is free, and it's basically for all contractors that are registered on our database. And we have encouraged this because we do have a budget to spend on it. But Chair, you'll be very surprised about how difficult we are trying to find an uptake. It seems like our contractors are literally giving us the backhand in terms of interest. And you would wonder why someone wouldn't want to be trained when it is free. But it is a challenge, Chair, that we are finding contractors are not really interested in the training. I guess contractors are interested in training that comes with an opportunity as well, not to sit in the class and be trained. So it is not going as well as we thought it would. And as a result, we are slightly underspending on it because we invite contractors to come and be trained free of charge, and they are not taking us up on that challenge. So we do have challenges like that on that with regards to the training programs, but it is open to all contractors, not necessarily to a specific set of stakeholders. We issue the training according to grade, sometimes training programs between contractors for grade 3 to 6 or from 6 to 7, or whatever the case may be. CE, can you touch on the overstretched and the other issues? Thank you, Chair, through you.
Thank you very much. Chairperson, through the chairperson of the committee, also other industry stakeholders that get capacitated are infrastructure clients on issues related to procurement, how to establish a contractor development program and infrastructure delivery management systems. So on that front, we cover on average more than 100 clients a year, infrastructure clients a year. And then other stakeholders, Chairperson has indicated the contractors. Other stakeholders include also students, universities, and other regulators. With universities and students, both TVET and the other participants of higher education, we do things relating, for instance, on Breaks Future Skills, BEAM, and other things. And then in terms of assessing how contractors that are overstretched, we use that as a risk management tool during the procurement process. And the significant challenge there, Chairperson and Honorable Kile, apologies, Chairperson, is that if the projects have to be registered with the CIDB on the register of projects so that we are able to link. So, and the practical example where one contractor maybe is already doing 5 other projects, you will find that even within the same department, they've used the same CVs as their key personnel. If you are aware where contractors are also working, then as before you make an appointment, you could even ask specifically as to what teams are you going to be able to put on this site so that you don't also compromise quality, because you would have gotten the project on the strength of the CVs, the team that you've put forward, and the methodology that you've proposed. And that serves as a risk mitigation. And it works in a case where clients have been able to register projects. One of the best clients when it comes to the registration of projects and do use these tools are the likes of Sanral. They register all their projects, and before they award, they can go into the system and figure out as to whether the person is overstretched. And the next logical step for their bid evaluation committee is to look at whether the contractor still has sufficient teams to cover those particular projects. But we are driving hard and are taking very unpopular disciplinary measures on clients that are not registering, because we do need a platform with a full view of the construction industry so we can better regulate and manage the risk that come with it, and also develop the industry, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Gamede.
Can you see me, Chairperson? Chair, am I audible and you can see me? Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Oh, ngiyawubona umkhonto uzovikela izwe phela
akhona emasotsheni nakamade
uzovikela izwe namhlanje. Manishaya eceleni will come for round 3. We'll come for round 3 budget state, budget speech. Okay, thank you, Chairperson. Chair, can I now?
No problem.
Okay, thank you. No. Let me start with NHBRC. The presentation extensively outlined the processes and benefits of NHBRC registration and enrollment. However, it seems gloss over the practice, I mean the proactive enforcement mechanisms and accountability measures needed to maintain the integrity of these processes. The emphasis appears to be more on the steps rather than the consequences of deviation, which could also foster a perception of lenience. While adherence to South African National Standards 10.4 is crucial, the presentation does not delve into how the NHBRC goes beyond these minimum standards to ensure quality. There is a risk that focusing solely on compliance might overlook latent defects arising from poor workmanship or inferior materials, which can lead to costly problems for homeowners down the line. My question, Chairperson, the first one, given the stringent requirements for home builders registration and home enrollment, including the detailed technical assessments and inspections, what concrete measures is the NHBRC taking to actively combat and penalize non-compliant and fraudulent activities by both home builders and officials, beyond simply stating disciplinary actions to ensure consumer protection is not undermined by systemic corruption or negligence? Another question, considering the NHBRC's mandate to improve structural quality in the interest of housing consumers and also the home building industry, assist home builders through training and inspections to achieve and to maintain satisfactory technical standard. How does the NHBRC proactively address the issue of substandard material construction practices and may not explicitly be covered in the South African National Standard 10.4 standard, but still compromise the long-term durability and safety of homes, especially? Let me quickly run to CIDB. I'm sorry, Chairperson. Okay, yeah, mine. Okay. On the NHBRC, while the statistics show a significant percentage of black-owned contractors in the lower grades, this may also indicate a lack of upward mobility and sustainable growth. The focus seems to be on entry-level participation rather than creating an enabling environment for these businesses to scale and complete in higher value projects. The presentation outlines interventions, including the register of projects and build program, but there is a lack of concrete evidence on how these initiatives translate into tangible improvements in the industry performance and a reduction in negative practices. The higher number of tender notices not recorded as awarded raises concern about compliance and also transparency. My question to you, CIDB, given the CIDB's mandate to promote the sustainability growth, the construction industry, and the participation of the emerging sector, how effective are the current interventions and targets in truly dismantling the structural barriers that continue to impact the meaningful participation and growth of Black-owned and women-owned contractors, particularly beyond the lower grades? The last question, considering the CIDP's objective to determine, establish, and also promote improved performance and best practices, to what extent is the organization actively addressing the systemic inefficiencies and unethical practices within the construction industry that lead to project delays, cost overruns, and poor quality outcomes? And what are the measurable outcomes of these efforts? Chairperson,
I've noticed, and I also want to concur with you and also Honorable Dlamini. I think we have touched on the issue of the NHBRC. In as much as also Honorable Titebe has touched on this issue, but I think it's also important that even though even though we know that there has been an investigation that has been going on in the NHBRC regarding the church building, but I think this issue it actually requires our attention. It's going to be important that that report must be brought to us. I'm saying this in a very humble manner and also with good intentions, Chairperson. I think this it must reach us because the problem is that we'll end up having discussions, and also even reach conclusions about this untrue information all of us will receive from our so-called reliable sources because it has not came to us. I know you might be privy of the information, and also with the minister, I've seen her going around explaining the issue of NHBRC with regards to the church building. But I think it is important because if we go around gathering information as individuals, we might not assist because I understand that in things like this, there are critical things that need us to be very careful because I understand. I'm not saying that the information that the Honorable Ditebe has touched on, a bit of it, maybe he had information that is tangible, but some of us might go around sourcing information that is not going to assist the committee and also the NHBRC, even the people of South Africa. I think it is important. It's my pleasure. We need to know about we need to get this report and have information that is required so that whenever we go around, because people ask us about this thing, they know us that we are members of parliament, we are members of this portfolio committee, and the issue of church building touches our portfolio committee and the department that actually accounts to us, but we have no information around this issue, and this is a critical issue. I just wanted to stop there, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you. NHBRC.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Gamede. Let me start by probably with the last point, even though it's more of a comment, and indicates that it is not only the NHBRC that is involved in the investigation there. There's a multitude of departments. There is Department of Labor on labor regulations. They have their own report. They've also had their own investigations. There are those bodies that register professionals, your CBE, that is Council for Built Environment, the EXA, which talks to also construction. All those bodies, including the NHBRC, are bodies that have submitted reports to SAPS, so that SAPS is able, and not only SAPS alone, SIU is part of the investigation. They then analyze the reports so as to be able to identify the defaulting parties. The NHBRC in itself, as an organization, having conducted that report through an independent body, when the report was received, we obviously have to share it with the minister. As you may be aware, that's the sole person we report to. But we also had to act internally. And these are the prejudices that one is trying to avert or is trying to ensure that they don't jeopardize the case itself. I thought I needed to, because whenever there's discussion about this, it is as if it's only the NHBRC. It's a multitude of departments or entities that have a role to play in the construction of a building or a house. I thought I just needed to reflect on that. And on the substandard materials and durability, we just last week with the minister visited Eric Mlobi, which is a center which tests materials, building materials that would be approved for housing or disapproved if they are found to be non-compliant. So we do have our own public institution that does the testing, the laboratory that does the testing and the approvals of materials to avoid the substandard materials being used, but to ensure that where those materials that are approved, where they are utilized, they are durable. With some of the questions, I will allow the acting CEO to respond, Chair, but I thought I needed to just reflect on those. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Acting CEO.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, Chair. With regards to the concrete measures in place with regards to disciplinary of errant home builders, currently all we have available to us in terms of our act is suspension of the home builder with a fine up to 25,000 Rand, and in some cases also deregistration of that home builder. However, I think the chairperson also mentioned in her opening comments that the new act, once it is in force, does provide us with a lot more avenues to prosecute the home builders, as well as increasing the fines payable, which we think will also assist in the means of being a deterrent and able to strengthen what recourse we have in the industry against these home builders. I think Chairperson did touch on the materials testing. I just wanted to add that in addition to the laboratory that we have, which is the NHBRC laboratory at Eric Malobi in Soshanguve, we have co-sourced or outsourced to some laboratories in some of the provinces to try and increase our scope with regards to the testing of materials, because we have noticed that it is becoming more of a problem, whereas in the past we were more looking at the actual structures, but the materials are also becoming more and more of an issue. So we are putting steps in place to correct that. But I wouldn't say, unfortunately, that it's proactive. It's more on a random testing basis at the moment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Acting CEO. Honorable Peter.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Hope you can see me. Thanks, Chair, for the opportunity. Yeah, just a number of questions on my side. On the issue of, and I relate this to the point of the NHBRC in regards to the George building. As one of the people that made the call in the last term in regards to the lifestyle audits, and having that process not actually happen at the time that it was requested by the portfolio committee, again this term, at the beginning of the term last year, making the same call only for the presentation to only be done last week, is indicative of why it is important when honorable members of this portfolio committee request information or ask the department or entities to respond with information, that there is speed in the response. Because I think it is important to note that had those lifestyle audits been done at the time that they were requested, I think many of us as honorable members would have more knowledge and information about the role of NHBRC as it pertains to buildings across the country. And so I think it's really unfortunate that we are seeing these type of delays. And I think it's unfortunate now to hear the chairperson of the NHBRC, after many calls by members of this portfolio committee, including Honorable Poole, who requested the minister for this particular report and was also told the same response that the chair has given now. I think it's unfortunate because it leaves us as honorable members to then make assumptions, whereas we can get information that is required. To submit a 3-page presentation on a PowerPoint about why the CEO has been suspended is not sufficient enough. And I think it's clear that honorable members have been communicating this matter to the NHBRC and including the minister that it's simply not enough. We need more information. So the fact that there is information that has been received from the independent investigation that has taken place, I think it's only fair that the NHBRC brief the committee on the finer details, because as it stands, we are unable to actually give any opinion on this particular issue because, again, it has not been made available to us. So it really is a concern, in my view, that to be simply told that there are other actors that are involved, whereas the NHBRC reports to this committee to be accountable and responsible for the work that they do. You have a responsibility to report to this committee and to give us reports that we request as a portfolio committee. And to simply refuse is just not acceptable in my eyes. So I really think that the chairperson needs to go back with the minister and you need to figure out a way to give us this information because we need this information. We cannot simply watch press briefings by the minister and simply be okay with the information that she gives. As the portfolio committee, we have a responsibility to hold you to account. And if we are unable to do that because you're not giving us the information, then you are in violation of the Constitution. So please, can we not try to beat around the bush about this issue? It is not about the insensitivity about it. It's about what needs to happen. We need to hold you to account, and we cannot do that without the information and the reports. So please, we need that report. It must come. What information you have is enough for us to also have. So please give us that report and give us that information. That is what we require in order to do our job. Now, I want to say this and say that it's fundamentally important that when we raise issues around the buildings and work that is done through the BMG and the like. For example, I've reported on many instances the issue of the flare-off project in Johannesburg, of the bad quality in which the work was done. There has not been any feedback from the NHBRC to then explain to us how that particular project was allowed to be approved, how people were allowed to stay in a project where ceilings are collapsing, where the walls are falling off, where the sanitation and the piping of the entire project is collapsing. So these presentations that you give us on the ground, they are not there. The work that you are speaking about is not happening on the ground. So when will we see what you've presented in this PowerPoint happening on the ground? When is the NHBRC going to take action in regards to the flare-off project in Johannesburg, where the building is collapsing? When will we get responses on that particular issue? Because it's been outstanding, it's been an issue I've raised, and to then get a response on a PowerPoint that doesn't even speak to the issues that we've raised with the NHBRC is deeply concerning, in my view. I move, Chair, to sorry, I just want to get my question. I move to the CIDB, and I'm just interested in terms of your relations with the contractors. Is there a barometer in terms of the number of projects that particular contractors receive in a province? Do you have any mechanism of measurement in regards to that? If not, why not? Or is it simply based on the amount of money that would act as a barometer for the amount of projects that a particular company receives? How are you able to determine when a particular contractor is overburdened by a particular job? What barometers or SOPs do you have in regards to that particular issue? And then just in terms of the issue regarding cybersecurity, we know that there's been a huge rise in artificial intelligence. What systems do you have in place in order to deal with the rise of that particular activity as it pertains to certificate of compliance? Are there ways in which you've put in systems in place to deal with that particular issue? And then lastly, Chair, this is just to the department itself, that I'm really concerned about the amount of time it takes for the department to respond to written questions. We are finding ourselves, at least myself, waiting 3 months for a question to be responded to. Is there any indication of why there's been such a long time in which for us to get responses to our questions? I think I'm very concerned about that. It's not the first time that I raised this issue. Can we please request that the department try its best to speedily respond to written questions, because it relates to our work and it relates to the issues that we are responsible for. And so the delays that can take over 3 months are truly, in my eye, not acceptable, Chairperson. And I think it is important that the department does its best to respond.
Are you done?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think I made a slight mistake. I didn't allow CIDB to address Honorable Gamete's questions. I think when you address Honorable Peter's questions, please couple that with Honorable Gamete's questions. But let me start with NHBRC, and I'll come to...
Thanks, Chairperson.
The CEO will start, acting CEO will start, Honorable Chair. May come back later.
Acting CEO.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Honourable Member Mpiti. I think we do take very seriously and note your comments. I think we internally are putting processes in place that will address concerns raised in a much quicker fashion. With regards to the Vleerhof project, the technical team has completed their assessment and a report is available, which we can provide through to the committee through the national department. But I think it is not our intention to delay or to not discuss.
Acting CEO, you're breaking. Acting CEO. Chairperson. I think acting CEO is having connectivity problems. Maybe you can continue.
No, thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Probably let's just say that that report. I think she had already indicated, the acting CEO, that the report is ready. All we need to do then is to submit it to yourselves via the department, of course. I guess with the other one was more of a comment on the speed, and I think the acting CEO has addressed the question of the speed at which responses are made, that they will try and speed up or increase the speed better. Thank you, Chair. Well, on the George report one, I think, Chair, we have engaged and you have ruled. I think now I'll keep it at what your ruling would be. Thank you.
Thank you. DM. Before CIDB.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Chair, I think first
Chair.
I must.
Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Gamed.
I'm sorry to disturb, Chairperson. Chairperson, you just mentioned the issue of CIDB responding to my question before.
Yeah, still coming. They're still coming.
Okay.
Yeah. DM.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, I think I want to respond to the fact that the NHBRC is refusing to give the PC the report on George or any other report for that matter. I don't think that it's a correct statement. I'm raising this because the portfolio committee has a responsibility to make the environment conducive for NHBRC to report on matters which are sub judice. Honorable Mbali Dlamini made a very fundamental point to say that if it means that the portfolio committee must have a closed session, the portfolio committee must have that closed session so that the NHBRC can come and table the report physically to the portfolio committee so that we lay this particular issue to bed, because now it cannot be that NHBRC is viewed as an entity that is trying to hide whatever from the portfolio committee. So I think at the level of the portfolio committee, a responsibility must be taken to say that you are going to have a closed meeting where we come. In my other life, Chairperson, I was a chair of the portfolio committee, different committees in Parliament, and then there are processes that enables the portfolio committee to get a report that will be detailed. In those, you can do it. I know you are a capable portfolio committee to do that. 2, Chairperson, the report on George. It's not only the NHBRC that commissioned a report and investigation on the issue of George. Labor Department, the municipality, CBE, ECSA, SAPS, all these entities, they commissioned a report to George Building. So it would be perhaps prudent or imperative for the portfolio committee also to invite those entities to come and present a report on the George building so that the portfolio committee has a comprehensive report from different role players that have investigated the issue of George, because the rules book of Parliament enables the portfolio committee to summon anyone before the portfolio committee on every matter in South Africa that concerns the citizens of the country. So the portfolio committee is more empowered to get each and every report for everyone else that commissioned a report on the George building, and rightfully so. The portfolio committee needs to conclude this matter and rest the matter, and then see what to do next after considering all the reports. Even the province of the Western Cape commissioned a report. They must also be invited to come and table the report before the portfolio committee. The portfolio committee is empowered to do that. I am not aware of any responses from the department to the portfolio committee that takes 3 months. The DG will correct me if I'm wrong. The protocols enforces the department to send the reports through the portfolio committee chairperson. And we send those reports, those responses, written responses, when members instruct us to say, respond in writing on the matter, we do that promptly. So I don't think that there is any instance where the Department of Human Settlements took 3 months to respond to the portfolio committee matters where we are instructed to respond in writing. I thought, Chair, it's important for me to respond on those few matters of importance as raised by the portfolio committee members. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, GM. CIDB, if you can couple Honorable Mpiti's responses with that of Honorable Mede. My apologies.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I think they are related to a certain extent. Chair, I think Honorable Gamede had more of an interest around the upward trajectory of our contractors in terms of our register and the transformation thereof, and whether we are creating an enabling environment. Chair, I think to respond to that, it's simple to say we need to look at where we started off as CIDB. The entity itself has evolved. We have attended to most of the challenges since 2002. And as we build up the organization, we make certain interventions through our regulations. And finally, a year or two ago, we actually looked at our act. So the organization you had in 2000, the organization you have now is totally different. And also from a transformation point of view, it's a pity, Chair, that we've been limited in terms of the scope that we needed to present here. But we would have loved to have taken the committee through where the organization was and what the statistics looks like in terms of women empowerment, in terms of transformation, etc. I had indicated before that at a point there were about only 8 grade 9 contractors, and none of them had any transformation credentials at all. The picture is totally different. We have more than 150 contractors now, of which most of them are what could say empowered or transformed entities. So that picture has totally changed. Yes, there's still a lot of numbers in terms of grade 1 and 2, but those are slowly moving up as well. The number of grade 7s, grade 8s that we have now is totally different to what we had a few years back. And that's mostly through the interventions that have been. Further to that, we have had the BUILD program, which is only in its infancy stages at the moment. And the BUILD program is to recognize, Chair, to say, not only does CIDB register contractors and monitor that, we need to actually be a player ourselves and try to intervene in terms of transformation. Hence, we established the fund, the BUILD fund, which is now being used to train contractors and also to provide development finance. So these are interventions that have happened now in the last 2 to 3 years. So I can confidently say to Honorable Gamede that there has been a significant change And we are winning that war in terms of transformation and ensuring that CIDB is playing a meaningful role towards development of the contractors. Honorable Mpiti touched on a crucial issue which has been touched on before on the number of projects that contractors can undertake at a particular time. Again, this is another intervention that we have now since undertaken to monitor that as well. Not only have we registered the contractors, we are now registering projects as well. Now, with the registration of projects, it will tell us once a project is registered, who the contractor is, who the consultant is, gives us an opportunity to also again monitor the transformation and see whether our interventions are yielding any results. So once we see the projects and we can see that Honorable Mpiti's company is receiving more than what they can chew, then we are able to flag that organization as well, because their projects are now being registered as well. So I think those are the main issues, and I'll allow the CEO to cover the rest, Chair, through you. Thank you.
Chairperson, thank you very much. I have been largely covered by your intervention, with the exception of just on Honorable Kamede's question on the what has also resulted in the increase of, for instance, in grade 9s. If you look at 2021, black-owned grade 9s were at around 46%. Currently, we are approaching 15. We are at 59%. So in a space of 3 years. And part of the interventions that have assisted in that is the expansion of the CIDB National Contractor Development Program, which used to stop at grade 8, now is going at it used to stop at grade 6, now it's up to grade 8. And in applications that we are processing, for instance, in a financial year for upgrades, we can process as much as 7,000, where 4,000 were successful upgrades of black-owned, majority black-owned or women-owned, youth-owned businesses. The only challenge that through procurement that we need to ensure of, and with the submitted guidelines also for infrastructure clients on how do you target in, and we are also contributing on the regulations of the procurement bill, because the aspect of equitable share of the work, there's still some challenges of centralization in that. But in terms of the numbers of participants, that part is moving is moving fast in the right direction. In terms of, and it's one of the key measures that we measure at our strategic plan, the previous 5 years and the 5 years going forward. That part is one of the key board performance indicators from the CIDB perspective. And in terms of cyber security, in the past 2 years, and also use of AI in our processes of compliance, fraud detection, we've moved all our services online, and it's part of our digital strategy. There are aspects where AI can be used to detect fraud and also fast track the processes. For instance, auto assessments are possible tools that can be integrated into our registration systems that have moved online, and also fraud detections using data analytics. Even if when you're looking at the financial statements, you are able to easily flag. Those are part of the things that are possible with the base that we've set in our digital strategy and moving our services online. So it would be of interest. But as a corporate CIDB, we have also our cyber security policy and action plans that deals with us, but we want to expand in terms of the digital strategy for the industry. We have not moved far on that aspect of auto assess, and also in the aspect of using data analytics to detect fraud in transactions. But the base for that is there with our digital strategy and our online systems. But we would be happy to also explore further on this particular topic. I have my COO here who will also take the project forward. Thank you very much, Chairperson of the committee and Chairperson and honorable members.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think we have addressed all questions, honorable members. Just want a parting comment from the DG. He has been quiet the whole meeting. DG, are you still here? Seems he's not here. DM, Just few words as parting words.
Chair, Mpiti is there, Chair. Mpiti's hand is up.
Mpiti.
Thanks
Oh,
very much.
Mpiti.
Yes, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair. I just wanted to just quickly take the DM into what I was saying. I've given examples in terms of the delays, in terms of the report. I've spoken to the issue of the flare-off report, which was requested last year. We are now in May, so that is over 3 months. I've spoken in regards to the lifestyle audits, which were requested this term, last term. That has already gone over a year. And I'm also referring to written questions. And if she wants me to give her a list of those questions that have taken over 3 months, I'm more than happy to do so. But my point here is that there has been a delay, and there's clear work on my side that I've submitted that has not received the response. So I just wanted to make that clear so that the DM is able to understand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we are parting words.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. And I thought that we came to the Portfolio Committee and presented the report on the lifestyle audit from the NHBRC. But safe to say that we will make a follow-up on the unanswered questions or questions that took 3 months. If Honorable Mpiti can furnish us with such information. And I want to assure the Portfolio Committee that we know our responsibility and accountability lines. And Portfolio Committee of Human Settlements, it's where we must account. And also, I want to reiterate, Chair, the point which I raised earlier on to say the Portfolio Committee must make the environment conducive for us and NHBRC to come and do a presentation and follow the suggestion of Honorable Mbali Dlamini, which will help all of us to give information as required by the Portfolio Committee and all its members. And we are honored to serve a chairperson and be accountable to the Portfolio Committee at all material times. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you, DM and your team, DG and your team, Chairperson of CIDB and the CEO and your team, Chairperson and Acting CEO of NHBRC and your team, honorable members. Because we no longer have much time, honorable members, I think I will request the secretary just to check with you, either telephonically or on our group, about our intended visit to Gauteng, where we will meet with newly appointed board members of our entities, and also take what the DM suggested to us last time, that we need to visit the Eric Mulobi project so that we are able to acquaint ourselves. Further, a visit to George. We're trying to get possible dates. I think the secretary will communicate to you about that so that you are able to respond and show your interest in that, so that you are able to visit George and take further the issue of the George building. I said in my ruling that I'm going to engage with the minister and see how possible we're going to make sure that this committee receives a report. And Honorable Mbali has suggested that we can also go into a closed session, and the DM has reiterated that. So those are the issues that we will take forward. There are questions that need written responses. Chairperson, especially chairperson of NHBRC. Let's make sure that we respond to those questions as a matter of agency, so that we don't have things that are running behind. Having said that, honorable members, DG, chairperson of CIDB and your team, chairperson of NHBRC and your team, we want to thank you for having made time to come and present to us and brief us on issues that we are raising in our portfolio. DM, definitely, we are going to make sure that we invite all other entities that have a stake in the collapse building to come and present to us. Thanks very much, honorable members. Let's meet in the house. Enjoy the rest of your day. The meeting stand adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Goodbye, everybody. See you later.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
How are you? Good. Of course. Sure. Are you taking care of my properties? Yeah. Okay. Are my properties still in order? Yeah, it's in order. Okay.